Chapter 44. After ending the call with his granddaughter, Qin Jingyang frowned and pondered for a moment. Xiao Wu. Suddenly, Qin Jingyang called out to someone outside. A middle-aged man walked in. This middle-aged man was Qin Jingyang's housekeeper. "Master, what's the matter?" Housekeeper Wu bowed to Qin Jingyang as soon as he entered. Qin Jingyang was silent for a moment before he said, "Xiao Fei is very worried about Yang Tian. Sai, go and bring Yang Tian back safely. Bring Little Eagle with you." Housekeeper Wu looked up at Qin Jingyang and asked worriedly, "Master, if I bring Little Eagle with me, what about your safety?" Qin Jingyang smiled. "Don't you understand? Sometimes a martial artist cultivation level is just a facade. Even if Little Eagle isn't by my side, I can still defeat the Du brothers." "All right." Housekeeper Wu nodded and left the room. A moment later, Steward Wu stood in the middle of the courtyard, took out a whistle, and blew it a few times, producing a woo-woo sound. Soon, a gigantic red-feathered eagle descended from the sky and landed in the courtyard. This red-feathered eagle had a wingspan of more than 10 meters. When it retracted its wings, it looked even bigger than a bull. Its thick claws were covered in red scales, and the tips of its claws were golden and sharp. Perhaps it had just hunted another exotic beast, as there were still traces of blood on the scarlet-feathered eagle's claws and beak. This gigantic red-feathered eagle was Qin Jingyang's pet beast. There was an electronic ring tied to one of its legs. With this electronic ring, it would not be attacked by the city's anti-air weapons when it flew into the city. At this moment, the red-feathered eagle was staring at Housekeeper Wu and the whistle in his hand that was made of animal bones. "Little Eagle, Master wants us to go out and bring someone back," Housekeeper Wu said with a smile when he saw the red-feathered eagle staring at him. The red-feathered eagle ignored Housekeeper Wu and turned around to comb its feathers. "Little Eagle, you haven't been back for half a month. Are you itching for a beating?" Just then, Qin Jingyang walked out of the villa and said to the red-feathered eagle with a smile. Seeing Qin Jingyang, the eagle's eyes weren't as sharp as before. It took a few steps to get in front of Qin Jingyang and squatted down. Qin Jingyang patted the eagle's neck and said, "Be good. I'll be back soon." The red-feather eagle turned around and squatted down in front of Steward Wu. Steward Wu picked up his backpack with a smile and jumped onto the back of the red-feathered eagle. The red-feathered eagle spread its wings and jumped into the air. It circled above the villa with Steward Wu on its back and flew rapidly towards Yang Tian's location. If they were to travel from the ground to the forest where Yang Tian was, it would take at least 20 days no matter how fast they traveled. If they flew there directly, it wouldn't even take half a day. At this moment, Yang Tian was resting on a big tree with a light blue level 5 beast core in his hand. After the battle with Big Feng, Yang Tian realized that he had reached a new level. Now it was time to consume the level 5 beast core. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Seeing Yang Tian take out the level 5 beast core, the little blue dragon knew what Yang Tian was thinking. It waved its claws and spoke to Yang Tian for a while. Yang Tian widened his eyes in shock after he understood the little blue dragon's words. How is this possible? Yang Tian didn't believe what the little blue dragon said. However, he still jumped down from the tree and put the level 5 beast core into his mouth and swallowed it. After a while, Yang Tian closed his eyes. The energy of the level 5 beast core was absorbed by Yang Tian's digestive organs and began to spread throughout his body. Just like last time, Yang Tian controlled this energy and gathered it in the Dragon Ball in his chest. Time passed quickly. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. This time, the process of absorbing the energy was very long. A full 36 hours passed. All the energy of the level 5 beast core was stored in the Dragon Ball by Yang Tian. Under the replenishment of a large amount of energy, Yang Tian, who was using his inner vision, was surprised to find that the Dragon Ball had changed from its previous greenish-white color to yellow. At this moment, Yang Tian opened his eyes. He followed the little blue dragon's instructions and used his mind to control the large amount of energy in the Dragon Ball. He circulated it around his body and then gathered it in his hands. The wounds on his body, under the nourishment of this energy, miraculously healed, and on his hands, More and more energy gathered. Yang Tian found that his hands had become red and swollen, as if they were fried in a pan of oil. At this moment, he also felt that his hands were very numb and itchy. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this moment, the little blue dragon let out a cheerful cry to remind Yang Tian. Yang Tian nodded and controlled the energy in his hands to disperse it to the skin on his 5 fingers and arms. This was the first time Yang Tian had done this kind of more precise control of the Dragon Ball's energy. Before, when he used the Dragon Ball's energy, it was all gathered in his hands, legs, or the body parts that were about to be attacked. And before, the energy of the Dragon Ball was not much. Soon, Yang Tian's hands changed. The skin on his hands and arms began to harden and turn green, forming a layer of dry and wrinkled epidermis. And at the tip of his fingers, his nails were elongating, thickening, and thinning at a speed visible to the naked eye. About 10 minutes later, the epidermis on Yang Tian's arms and hands fell off. At this time, Yang Tian looked at his hands, his face full of shock, because his hands had turned into dragon claws. That's right, they were dragon claws. Dragon claws that were exactly the same as the little blue dragons. Had become a monster. Yang Tian looked at his pair of claws and laughed. He was not worried because the little blue dragon had told him before that his hands could change back into human palms. In fact, even if he maintained the form of dragon claws, Yang Tian did not care from his point of view. He was afraid that Qin Fei and his parents would see it. Test the power. Yang Tian stood up, walked in front of a big tree that was as thick as the mouth of a bowl, and punched out. Bang! The powerful punch hit the trunk of the big tree, making a loud noise. Crack! The big tree broke and fell down. Yang Tian looked at his hands in shock. If it was before, with such a strong force on the hard trunk, he would not be able to break the big tree that was as thick as the mouth of a bowl, and his hands would also swell. But now, after breaking the big tree with one punch, his pair of hands that had turned into dragon claws did not feel anything. It was as if he was wearing a pair of iron gloves on his hands. Yang Tian opened his claws, and his fingertips turned into hook-shaped claws that stretched out automatically. He once again walked in front of a big tree that was as thick as a person's waist, raised his claws, and imitated the little blue dragon. He used all his strength and kept scratching the trunk. At this moment, Yang Tian felt that the big tree was as soft as plastic foam. Under the flying sawdust, Yang Tian broke the big tree that was as thick as a person's waist in less than a minute. During this process, Yang Tian did not use much strength. Ever since his hands turned into dragon claws, the strength of his arms had increased by a lot. This was not only because he had swallowed a rank 5 beast core, but also because his arms were filled with the power of the Dragon Balls. This pair of dragon claws should be more powerful than ordinary weapons when used. Weapons were always external objects, but dragon claws were his hands. When fighting, they would be more flexible and faster. Roar! At this moment, a beast roar came from not far away. This kind of situation could be encountered at any time in the forest. Exotic beasts would also hunt each other before. Walking in the forest, one could often see 2 high-level exotic beasts fighting. If exotic beasts wanted to evolve faster, they also needed to consume beast cores. The more beast cores they consumed, the faster they could evolve. The direction of the sound was less than a kilometer away from Yang Tian. Yang Tian quickly walked through the forest and arrived in 10 minutes. At this moment, the little blue dragon also jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder and looked in the direction of the sound with wide eyes. When Yang Tian arrived, he saw a black bear and a silver-haired pig fighting. The silver-haired pig was a rank 1 exotic beast, and the black bear had not even reached its rank. Chapter 45. When Yang Tian arrived, the silver-haired boar had already used its sharp tusks to pierce the black bear's stomach. The black bear roared in pain and slapped the silver-haired boar away. The black bear's slap did not cause much damage to the silver-haired boar. The silver-haired boar stood up and charged at the black bear again. A few minutes later, the black bear was stabbed to death by the silver-haired boar's tusks. Wild boars mainly ate plants to survive. Occasionally, they would eat small animals to replenish their nutrients. They were considered omnivores. After killing the black bear, the silver-haired boar began to eat the black bear's corpse. Yang Tian looked at his claws and walked forward. The silver-haired boar noticed Yang Tian and looked at him cautiously. When it saw Yang Tian approaching it, it became angry. It raised one of its front legs and dug into the ground twice before charging at Yang Tian. The silver-haired boar's defense was very strong. Its fur was like steel wire and its skin was very thick. Normal bullets could not even scratch its skin. Its defense was strong, and its attack was not weak either. Its two long fangs were its most powerful weapons, and they could easily pierce through a large tree. Facing the silver-haired boar, Yang Tian met it head-on. When he was about to collide with the silver-haired boar, Yang Tian flipped over and clawed at the silver-haired boar's back, breaking its spine. When Yang Tian flipped over and landed on the ground, the silver-haired boar's body also stopped and crawled on the ground. The silver-haired boar was not dead yet, but its spine was broken and it could not move. Yang Tian stepped forward and punched the silver-haired boar's head, shattering its skull. He then clawed at the silver-haired boar's head. Unfortunately, there was no rank 1 beast core in this rank 1 silver-haired boar's head. Looking at his hands that had turned into dragon claws, Yang Tian smiled with satisfaction. In the future, I'll use these claws to deal with exotic beasts. If I fight with fighters, I'll use weapons. Yang Tian thought. He did not want others to see his appearance when he transformed. Otherwise, it would cause a panic and cause him to be seen as an anomaly among humans. It doesn't matter if he was wanted. There was always a solution. He was not making an enemy of all the fighters in the world. However, if one were to become a foreign species and become very powerful, one would truly become the enemy of all the martial artists in the world. Next, Yang Tian dispersed the power of the dragon orb on his arm. His hands began to change again. The hook-shaped fingertips fell off. A thick layer of skin fell off his hands and arms, revealing crimson skin that resembled that of a newborn baby. Yang Tian could not understand this change. Could the power of the Dragon Balls be able to change the composition of human cells? Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon, lying on Yang Tian's shoulder, saw that Yang Tian's hands had returned to normal and let out a cheerful cry. It told Yang Tian that it was hungry and wanted to eat roasted pork. Yang Tian raised his head to look at the sky and nodded. After getting Feng Da's backpack, Yang Tian's days were much better. At least he had a change of clothes. Feng Da's figure was similar to Yang Tian's, so it was suitable for Yang Tian to wear. After night fell, the little blue dragon climbed to the tallest tree nearby and stood guard for Yang Tian. Yang Tian, on the other hand, started a small bonfire and started to roast pork. With the little blue dragon watching over him, Yang Tian could sleep without worry. Yang Tian did not see that high up in the sky, a huge red feather was hovering in the sky. The red feather was sitting on Steward Wu's back. Steward Wu looked down. In the large jungle, there were many fires. These were all bonfires made by warriors. Because there were too many of them, he could not tell which bonfire Yang Tian was sitting in front of. Forget it. Let's go back. Not long after, Steward Wu said helplessly. Early the next morning, Yang Tian, who had a good night's sleep, opened his eyes. Yang Tian got up, turned on his warrior auxiliary device, and connected it to the network. This was the first time Yang Tian turned on the long-distance communication function after finding his auxiliary device. The auxiliary device received a lot of messages, most of which were sent to him by Qin Fei. Yang Tian quickly browsed through them and replied to Qin Fei, reassuring her that he was safe. Then, he replied to his parents with the same message. While Yang Tian was using the auxiliary device, Yang Tian's location was also located by others. Almost at the same time, a large number of warriors swarmed toward Yang Tian's location. 2 billion martial coins. It was a huge sum of money for a level 6 warrior. Yang Tian knew that his location would be located after he turned on the long-distance communication function. In less than 5 minutes, he turned it off. Even if he turned it off, Yang Tian was still worried. The best way was to throw the auxiliary device away like before. However, Yang Tian needed it now. He might be able to use it to lure his enemies later. After turning off the long-distance communication function, He turned off the power. After doing this, Yang Tian looked in the direction. He carried his backpack and sword, called the little blue dragon over, and walked deeper into the danger zone. The next morning, squeak, squeak, squeak. While walking, the little blue dragon let out a series of urgent cries. Yang Tian frowned because the little blue dragon told him that someone was coming. The human who appeared at this moment must be a warrior who came to kill him. Yang Tian knew that he had exposed his approximate location by turning on the auxiliary device for a short period of time yesterday. Running away was not a solution. Yang Tian smiled coldly and walked toward the direction of the people. More than 10 minutes later, Yang Tian met up with the three people. Among the three people, two were middle-aged men and one was a young man in his mid-20s. After seeing Yang Tian, the three of them were stunned. They turned on their auxiliary devices and compared Yang Tian's appearance. "It's Yang Tian," the young man suddenly shouted excitedly. "Haha, we're so lucky. 2 billion. One of the middle-aged men nodded and laughed. At this moment, the three of them were about 30 meters away from Yang Tian. After recognizing Yang Tian, they looked at each other and quickly spread out, surrounding Yang Tian from three sides. After seeing the three of them, Yang Tian stood there without moving. The little blue dragon had already jumped onto a big tree. It opened its eyes wide and looked at everything curiously. The three of them surrounded Yang Tian in a triangle, their eyes filled with excitement. 2 billion martial coins is a lot. However, you have to think about it. What if I kill you? This money is not that easy to get. Yang Tian glanced at the three of them and said calmly. The three of them did not respond to Yang Tian's words. Suddenly, they took out 3 modified lightning bolts from their waists and threw them at Yang Tian. The three of them were level 4 martialists. In a one-on-one fight, they were no match for Yang Tian. They had already discussed how to deal with Yang Tian, which was to use lightning bolts to attack Yang Tian. Lightning bolts were very powerful. Although they could not kill a level 5 martialist directly, they could paralyze a level 5 martialist for a short period of time. During this short period of time, they could attack. This was a very ideal situation. However, during a battle, the situation was often different from what one imagined. Chapter 46. Seeing the three of them throwing lightning bolts at him, Yang Tian smiled coldly. With a move of his feet, he blew away a few leaves and rushed towards one of the middle-aged men. At this moment, Yang Tian was about 20 to 30 meters away from the three of them. This time, Yang Tian used the energy of the Dragon Ball. His speed was very fast. Before the lightning bolts landed, he had already rushed in front of one of the middle-aged men. Pooh! Yang Tian's figure passed by the middle-aged man. Before the other party could react, the knife in his hand pierced through his neck. At this moment, the middle-aged man's eyes were still wide open. Perhaps it was because he was too shocked. He did not expect Yang Tian's speed to be so fast. In the blink of an eye, he was already in front of him. Pung, pung, pung. ZZ, ZZ. At this moment, the 3 lightning bolts landed on the ground and exploded, shining with countless sparks. Pung! The middle-aged man's neck tilted and his head fell. Blood spurted out from his neck and his body stiffened as he fell. Yang Tian wiped the blood splattered on his face and rushed towards the other middle-aged man. Clang! The middle-aged man's reaction speed was much faster. When he saw Yang Tian rushing towards him, he raised his knife and slashed, colliding with Yang Tian's knife. Yang Tian also poured the energy of the Dragon Ball into his arms. The power of this attack was very strong. It was not something a level 4 warrior could withstand. The middle-aged man was sent flying with his knife. With a pung, he crashed into a big tree. Yang Tian's attack did not stop. The knife in his hand turned into a white ray of light. Before the middle-aged man could react, the white ray of light had already slashed his neck. In a few breaths, Yang Tian had killed 2 level 4 warriors. After killing the second person, Yang Tian rushed towards the remaining young man. No! Pooh! Yang Tian did not show any mercy and directly killed the young man who cried out. Looking at the 3 corpses, Yang Tian let out a long sigh. 3 level 4 warriors had been killed by him in less than a minute. Yang Tian did not feel any sense of accomplishment, because this kind of asymmetrical battle didn't make him excited at all. The battle with Big Feng earlier was truly delightful. Next, Yang Tian looked at the 3 corpses and found 2 level 1 beast cores in their backpacks and pockets. Looking at the 2 level 1 beast cores, Yang Tian gave them to the little blue dragon for it to consume. The little blue dragon needed a large amount of energy to grow. Yang Tian had no interest in the weapons on the 3 of them. He only took the single tent that he needed. In less than 5 minutes, Yang Tian had left the battlefield. He knew that more martialists were heading in this direction. With his current strength, it would not be a problem for him to deal with more than 10 martialists of rank 4 or below. Because this was a forest and not an open area, he wouldn't be able to fight with more people. However, if he met more than 1 level 5 or level 6 warrior, it would be difficult. The battle with Big Feng earlier gave Yang Tian a lot of battle experience. At the same time, he also knew the power of a level 5 warrior. Half an hour later, the group of 5 arrived at the scene of Yang Tian's previous battle. Although it was only half an hour, the smell of blood still attracted some small beasts that moved very quickly in the surroundings, such as forest rats and lynx. These beasts had already eaten more than half of the 3 corpses. The scene looked disgusting. Although the corpses were destroyed beyond recognition, the 5 of them could immediately tell that these 3 level 4 warriors had been killed cleanly. There were no signs of an intense battle at the scene. "Who killed them?" asked a young woman in a black sweatshirt and jeans. She had a cloth bag slung over her shoulder. "I don't know. It could be Yang Tian, or it could be someone else." The middle-aged man who was the leader of the 5 frowned and said faintly. Another young man said at this time, "If it's Yang Tian, then we have to be careful. From the information, this person's growth speed is simply abnormal." The young woman laughed disdainfully. "No matter how fast he grows, how can he be compared to our captain? Our captain is a level 6 warrior." The middle-aged man shook his head expressionlessly. "We can't be careless. Yang Tian can even kill Big Feng. His strength is unfathomable. When we meet him, don't move. Let me do it." After the middle-aged man finished speaking, the 4 teammates nodded. Squeak, squeak, squeak. At this moment, a few mouse squeaks came from the cloth bag slung over the woman's shoulder. These squeaks were very similar to the little blue dragon squeaks. However, they were much sharper and didn't have any aura. The woman in black heard the squeaks and smiled. She opened her bag and took out a fist-sized white mouse. "Captain, let little white go. It will definitely be able to find that Yang Tian." The woman in black took out a few fried beans and fed them to the white mouse with a smile. The middle-aged man nodded. "Although we can't be sure that it's Yang Tian, we can give it a try. Go, little white." The woman in black scratched the white mouse's back and said with a smile, "Squeak, squeak." The white mouse squeaked twice and jumped to the ground, sniffing the surroundings with its nose. At this moment, the 5 of them stared at the white mouse without blinking, hoping that it could smell Yang Tian's scent. This white mouse was an exotic beast with a very sensitive sense of smell. It was the woman in black's pet beast. Although it didn't have any combat strength, its sense of smell was very sensitive. After training, it could smell the scents left behind by various exotic beasts, including humans. Squeak, squeak, squeak. A few minutes later, the white mouse sniffed an open bag. It stood up and squeaked a few times at the woman in black. The woman in black's eyes lit up, and she smiled excitedly. She said to the middle-aged man with thick eyebrows, "Captain, little white has already smelled the scent. We can start tracking now." The middle-aged man nodded expressionlessly. "Little white, go." The woman in black turned around and said to the white mouse, "Squeak, squeak." The white mouse squeaked twice and chased in the direction Yang Tian left. The 5 of them immediately followed behind the white mouse. An hour later, Yang Tian was squatting by the stream, scooping up water from the stream with a canteen. The little blue dragon had its head lowered, sticking its head into the water and drinking it in big gulps. It wasn't easy to find water in the forest. For the past few days, Yang Tian had been drinking the juice of some rot tan vines. This was a survival knowledge he learned from Xiao Fei. After the little blue dragon drank enough water, it pulled its head out of the water and shook its head to shake off the water on its head. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Suddenly, the little blue dragon stopped moving for a moment, then squeaked a few times. When Yang Tian heard the little blue dragon squeaks, he immediately stood up and looked behind him. The little blue dragon was telling him that more enemies were coming, and they were moving very quickly. Chapter 47. Yang Tian knew that it was too late for him to escape now. Then he could only fight. A few minutes later, squeak, squeak, squeak. This was not the cry of the little blue dragon, but the squeak of a mouse. As soon as the squeak sounded, a white mouse suddenly appeared in front of Yang Tian's eyes. Behind the little white mouse, there were 5 people. The most conspicuous one was a middle-aged man who was rushing in front. He was wearing yellow leather armor and held a short spear in his hand. He had thick eyebrows and big eyes. Behind this middle-aged man was a woman in black who looked delicate and charming. Behind the woman in black were 3 young men. Yang Tian looked up and scanned them. He quickly determined the approximate strength of these 5 people. The most powerful one was the middle-aged man with the short spear. Judging from his aura, he was at least a level 5 martial artist. The weakest among the 5 was the woman in black. She was probably a level 2 or 3 martial artist. The other 3 young men were not above level 4. Seeing such a combination, Yang Tian immediately tensed up and stared at the middle-aged man in front of him. This person was his greatest threat. The 5 of them quickly came to a stop about 20 meters away from Yang Tian. "Leader, it's really Yang Tian." The woman in black recognized Yang Tian at a glance. She was unlike the previous 3 who had to compare with Yang Tian with their auxiliary devices after seeing his appearance. The middle-aged man nodded and raised the long spear in his hand. "Little White, come back." At this moment, the woman in black said to the little white mouse that was standing on a rock. The little white mouse squeaked twice and hopped a few times before arriving in front of the woman in black. The woman in black raised her hand, and the little white mouse jumped onto her palm as if it had intelligence. Then, she put it into her satchel. Seeing this, Yang Tian immediately understood that these 5 people were lured here by the little white mouse. Yang Tian did not find this strange. He had a dragon pet, and others would have other pet beasts. After the woman in black kept her pet beast, she and the other 3 young men retreated to the back. They were about 50 meters away from the middle-aged man. "Yang Tian, I can spare your life. However, you must follow me to Shunwei Dojo." At this time, the middle-aged man pointed a short gun at Yang Tian and said indifferently. Yang Tian smiled and said, "What's the difference between this and throwing away one's life? Instead of falling into Du Xiongwu's hands, I'd rather be killed by you. By the way, you want to kill me, but I still don't know your name." Yang Tian asked as he stared into the middle-aged man's eyes. The middle-aged man said, "Tianwei Martial Arts School, Zhao Shuangxing." It was the Tianwei Martial Arts School. When Yang Tian heard that Zhao Shuangxing was from the Tianwei Martial Arts School, he forced a smile and said, "We are all from the same martial arts school, so let's not fight." Yang Tian had heard of Zhao Shuangxing's name when he had joined the Tianwei Martial Arts Hall. Zhao Shuangxing was one of the top 100 experts in the Heavenly Might Martial Arts School. He was at the peak of level 6 and was one of the people worshipped by many low-level martial artists in the martial arts school. "You have been expelled from the Tianwei Martial Arts School," Zhao Shuangxing said faintly. "But since you used to be a member of the martial arts school, if you can hold on for half an hour in my hands, I will not trouble you in the future." Yang Tian nodded. A martial artist at the peak of level 6 was qualified to speak to Yang Tian like this. Yang Tian estimated his strength. He could fight with a martial artist at the beginning or middle of level 6, but he had no confidence in defeating a martial artist at the peak of level 6. There was a big difference in strength between martial artists of the same level. This was because different people had completely different strength, speed, cultivation of combat skills, and combat experience. Crack! Zhao Shuangxing shook his short spear and rushed toward Yang Tian, who was standing by the stream. The short spear in Zhao Shuangxing's hand suddenly doubled in length and became a long spear. Wu, in the blink of an eye, Zhao Shuangxing came in front of Yang Tian. The long spear in his hand swept toward Yang Tian with a gust of wind. At this time, Yang Tian was surprised to find that Zhao Shuangxing's seemingly huge body was extremely agile. Clang, Yang Tian leaned to the side and raised his saber, slashing the long spear. When the saber and spear came into contact, Yang Tian suddenly felt a strong vibration from the saber. The vibration made his hand, which was infused with the power of the Dragon Ball, go numb, and the saber in his hand almost flew out of his hand. What a powerful force! Yang Tian was shocked. He clenched the handle and took a few steps back to disperse the powerful force. Zhao Shuangxing stopped after this blow. He looked at Yang Tian and said, "The force is very strong. Not bad, but the way you disperse the force is wrong. You should use the strength of your muscles." The strength of muscles? When Yang Tian heard this, he frowned. Zhao Shuangxing did not give Yang Tian time to think. He suddenly shouted, "Watch out!" Wu, this time, the sound of the wind brought by the spear was even stronger. Without thinking, Yang Tian knew that Zhao Shuangxing's spear was even more powerful. Zhao Shuangxing's move just now was a sweep, but this time it was a slap. In these two moves, Zhao Shuangxing was using the long spear in his hand as a stick. This slap was aimed at the top of Yang Tian's head. It was extremely fast. Chapter 48. The little white mouse's strange behavior was naturally noticed by its owner, the woman in black. She opened her satchel and looked at the little white mouse. She asked worriedly, "Little White, what are you afraid of? Could it be that there are powerful exotic beasts around here?" Faced with the woman in black's question, if it was before, the little white mouse would have made a sound. But now it didn't make a sound. It was afraid that if it made a sound, it would be discovered by the terrifying fellows outside. The woman in black couldn't help but frown, her face full of doubt. Naturally, she didn't know that the little white mouse had seen a little blue dragon lying on a tree not far away. The color of the little blue dragon's body was very similar to the color of leaves. If one didn't look for it deliberately, it would be very difficult to find it. The little white mouse had just poked its head out and happened to see the little blue dragon. It had looked into the eyes of the little blue dragon, which was why it was so scared. At this time, Yang Tian and Zhao Shuangxing had already exchanged dozens of blows. Every time, Zhao Shuangxing was the one attacking, while he was passively defending. During this process, Yang Tian had already understood some of the techniques to control his own strength. For example, when power was transmitted from the opponent to his own body, he could quickly control his own muscles to contract and dissolve the opponent's power. He could even convert this power into attack power in an extremely short period of time. Brilliant warriors know how to use their own strength and the enemy's strength exquisitely. The key to using strength is one's own muscles. Normal people can't control their own muscles, but warriors are different. In the process of practicing combat skills, you should have some understanding. Zhao Shuangxing attacked while nagging at the same time. At this time, Yang Tian had already understood that Zhao Shuangxing wasn't here to kill him, but to teach him how to use his strength. Although he wasn't sure, Yang Tian was still working hard to learn. Clang, suddenly, the two's weapons collided again. The powerful force of this blow caused the two to suddenly separate. Not bad. You've already understood some things. If you think about it carefully, you'll understand the mystery. Among the young warriors I've seen, you're the one with the strongest comprehension ability. Zhao Shuangxing suddenly put away his spear and said to Yang Tian with a smile, "Thank you, teacher." Yang Tian withdrew his saber and bowed to Zhao Shuangxing. Zhao Shuangxing nodded and said, "Do you know why I did this?" This question was, of course, what Yang Tian wanted to ask. Without waiting for Yang Tian to shake his head, Zhao Shuangxing continued, "Du Qianxiang is too overbearing. I have long found him an eyesore." He thought that with 2 billion martial coins, he could make all the martial artists work for him. He is wrong. I want you to become even more powerful. Kill them until their blood flows like a river and ruthlessly slap them a few times. No matter what the reason is, I still have to thank you, teacher. Yang Tian scratched his head after listening to Zhao Shuangxing. Seeing the two of them talking and laughing, the black-clothed woman and the other three people walked over. Zhao Shuangxing turned around and glanced at the four people. He said to Yang Tian, "What happened to you is not unsolvable. As long as you can overcome this obstacle and safely return to the city, you can apply to the Martial Artist Committee for reconciliation. This is the method many martial artists use when they have a grudge against each other. If the Martial Artist Committee accepts your application, the Martial Artist Order will naturally become invalid. However, at that time, you'll have to fight someone. Whether you live or die, it will depend on your own strength." After Zhao Shuangxing finished speaking, he turned around and left with his four teammates who had not yet approached. Looking at Zhao Shuangxing's back, Yang Tian felt for the first time that he was not viewed as an enemy by all the martial artists. A warm feeling rose in his heart. "Captain, why did you let Yang Tian go? That's 2 billion martial coins." After walking for some distance in the forest, a young man behind Zhao Shuangxing asked. Zhao Shuangxing stopped and turned to look at his four teammates. "Because I can't kill him either." "No way," the black-clothed woman said in surprise. Zhao Shuangxing said, "Just now Yang Tian seemed to be in a passive position, but in fact he was still holding back. He fought with me for half an hour and took hundreds of my spears. In the end, he was still able to use such a powerful force. He forced me to retreat. His endurance is far from mine. If I'm not wrong, Feng Dao was exhausted by him." The black-clothed woman continued, "So, Captain, you changed your mind. You might as well do him a favor and let him go." Zhao Shuangxing smiled and said, "Of course not. In fact, I didn't want to kill him from the beginning. After all, he is a martial artist from my Tianwei Martial Arts Hall." After Zhao Shuangxing finished speaking, he turned around and continued to walk forward. After sparring with Zhao Shuangxing, Yang Tian learned a lot of things, especially the control power. After Zhao Shuangxing and the others left, Yang Tian called back the little blue dragon. One man and one dragon crossed the stream. After walking for half a day, they arrived at the entrance of a valley. At this time, Yang Tian needed to find a place to spend some time cultivating, especially on the use of power. As the saying goes, strike while the iron is hot. When he sparred with Zhao Shuangxing, he could still clearly remember the changes in his muscles every time he took a spear from Zhao Shuangxing. Even if it was an ordinary human, after receiving a heavy blow, the muscles in their body would move in a strange way to reduce the damage to the body. This was an instinct. Martial artists were one step further than ordinary people. After some training, they could control the movement of their muscles. Looking at the valley in front of him, Yang Tian looked at the steep cliffs on both sides. He thought that this was a good place to hide. It was perfect for resting for a while. When Yang Tian arrived at the entrance of the valley, the little blue dragon cried out again. It told Yang Tian that there was an extremely powerful exotic beast inside. Yang Tian glanced at the valley, then looked at the little blue dragon who stood up on his shoulder and asked, "What exotic beast?" The little blue dragon cried out twice, saying that it didn't know. It then told Yang Tian that the exotic beast inside wasn't easy for Yang Tian to defeat. Yang Tian thought about it and understood. The exotic beast in the valley was probably a rank 6 or rank 7 exotic beast. If it was rank 8 or above, the little blue dragon would tell him directly that the fellow inside was extremely dangerous and that it was important to leave quickly. "Then I can kill it. I need a rank 6 beast core," Yang Tian said with a smile. "Zhi." The little blue dragon also cried out excitedly, its desire to fight extremely strong. Green Creek Valley Farmhouse Entertainment, dining, chess, fishing. When Yang Tian passed through the entrance of the valley, his eyes lit up. The trees were much thinner, and there was a tattered billboard on the ground. The words on the billboard were very blurred. Yang Tian looked at the words on it and read aloud. It was obvious that Farmhouse Entertainment was built in this valley before the YS virus outbreak. Chapter 49. Rural leisure spots, like rural tourism, started in the early 21st century. In the beginning, They were all places where traffic was relatively developed. At the very least, where cars could drive in, business would be good. Later on, people's tastes changed again. Rural tourism was developed deep in the mountains and forests, built in extremely secluded places with beautiful environments. This clear stream valley was most likely such a place. Yang Tian looked at his feet again and realized there were many cement fragments on the ground. This place was probably cement a few decades ago, but it was destroyed by the crazy growth of trees. Yang Tian walked forward carefully, heading into the valley. The further he went, the fewer trees there were. On both sides of the cliff, there were actually buildings made of bricks and cement. Creak, creak, pong, pong, pong. Gust of wind blew, and sounds of doors and windows rubbing against each other could be heard from both sides. Although there were few trees in the valley, it was filled with weeds and vines that were half a man's height, covering the cement road. Yang Tian drew his blade and scratched the ground a few times, then rubbed it with his feet, pushing aside the weeds and revealing the black, cracked cement floor. CSI. At this moment, a huge green python as thick as a man's thigh suddenly darted out from the grass, its tongue sticking out as it pounced at Yang Tian. Yang Tian swung his blade and chopped off the python's head. This was an exotic beast that didn't have a high grade yet. Yang Tian wasn't interested in the python's corpse at all and continued walking forward. At this moment, a red, 2-meter-long lizard suddenly appeared. It glanced at Yang Tian, then darted into the grass and disappeared. This exotic beast was even more cowardly than the green python from before. Many exotic beasts in the forest were like that. They would immediately distance themselves after sensing any commotion. Only those high-grade exotic beasts, or those with a violent temperament, would take the initiative to attack humans. After walking another mile, the sound of water could be heard from the front. It sounded like the sound of stream. Yang Tian quickened his steps, heading in the direction of the sound. A few minutes later, Yang Tian walked out of the grass. A pond about 5 mu in size appeared in front of him. It was close to a cliff, and a very thin stream of water flowed down from above, landing in this man-made pond. A few dozen meters in front of him was a building that looked like a villa. On both sides were a row of 3-story buildings. Yang Tian only took a glance before coming to the side of the pond. Looking at the clear water in front of him, he had the urge to jump in and take a bath. Yang Tian hadn't taken a proper bath since he entered the forest. His body was uncomfortably dirty. The pool looked very deep. Although the water was very clear, the bottom could not be seen. Zhi. At this moment, the little blue dragon of Zhang Xian's voice, Zhang Xian, and Zhang Xian's name. Little Azure Dragon's reminder caused Yang Tian to take a few steps back, because the little Azure Dragon had told him that the strange beast was in the pool. Yang Tian had never seen an exotic beast in the water with his own eyes. He looked at the calm water with curiosity. When the YS virus broke out, it started in the ocean and spread to the land. The ocean was a place where ordinary warriors would not set foot in. The number and density of exotic beasts in the ocean were much higher than those on land. After mutating, the exotic beasts in the ocean could survive on land for a short period of time. When the virus broke out, the cities by the sea were immediately destroyed for this reason. After waiting for a few minutes, Yang Tian saw that there was no movement in the water. He searched the ground and found a few cement blocks that weighed more than 5 kilograms. He threw them into the pond. Pong, pong, pong. The surface of the calm pool was broken by the cement block, causing white splashes and ripples to appear. Whoosh! At that moment, a huge black creature rushed out of the water. The mutated creature in the pond was finally startled out by Yang Tian. Based on its appearance, it was a mutated snake. Moreover, it was a huge mutated king cobra. This guy's body was 3 to 4 meters in diameter. Its head was like a small mountain. Yang Tian finally understood why the bottom of the pond was black. It seemed that this guy's body occupied almost the entire pond. Whoosh! After the giant snake came out of the water, it glanced at Yang Tian. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew. The water in the pond was blown into the air by the strong airflow. It started to rain heavily. When the water fell, Yang Tian took a look and saw that the water in the pond was actually caused by the pair of fleshy wings of the giant black snake. On the back of this giant snake, there were actually two huge black fleshy wings. Snakes grew wings. It lived in the water, and it was such a huge one. Yang Tian looked at the giant snake and widened his eyes in shock. This guy was too big. It would not be easy to kill. At that moment, Yang Tian had the urge to turn around and run away. Yang Tian could tell at that moment that this was a level 7 mutated beast. Moreover, it was a mutated beast. Such a level 7 mutated beast combat power was comparable to an ordinary level 8 mutated beast. With Yang Tian's current strength, he was no match for it. It was better to run. This thought appeared in Yang Tian's mind again. He stared at the giant snake and slowly retreated. Whoosh! At that moment, the pair of wings on the giant snake's back stretched out again. Then, with a flap, it formed a strong airflow. The giant snake flapped its wings and flew into the air. Yang Tian looked up and found that there were two legs under the giant snake's abdomen near the tail. They were very similar to the little blue dragon's claws. They looked equally thick and strong. Is this also a dragon? Yang Tian looked at the strange winged serpent and couldn't help but murmur. The winged serpent flapped its wings and stared at Yang Tian with its large eyes. No, it should be the little blue dragon on Yang Tian's shoulder. Squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon waved its claws and let out two excited cries. The little blue dragon issued a challenge to this fellow that looked similar to itself. Roar! At that moment, the winged serpent also roared at the sky. The little blue dragon jumped down from Yang Tian's shoulder and landed on the ground. Something that shocked Yang Tian happened, because the little blue dragon's body began to change. It was like a balloon that began to expand. It became bigger and longer at a very fast speed. In less than a minute, the little blue dragon completed its transformation. It went from a foot long to dozens of meters long. Its body's diameter also reached 3 to 4 meters. It had become a real giant dragon. Roar! After the little blue dragon completed its transformation, it roared at the winged serpent. Its roar was no longer a squeak, but a real beast's roar. At this moment, the aura that the little blue dragon was emitting was completely different from before. It had the majesty and dominance of a dragon. Yang Tian suddenly realized that the winged serpent flying in the air had an expression of fear in its eyes. The winged serpent was afraid. Xiaolong, kill it. We'll eat roasted snake meat tonight. Seeing this situation, Yang Tian laughed and said loudly. The little blue dragon turned its head and nodded at Yang Tian. The battle between the two giant beasts was about to begin. Chapter 50. Although the winged serpent was a bit afraid of the little blue dragon, it still took the initiative to attack. It flapped its wings and swooped down, using its two thick claws to claw at the little blue dragon. Although the little blue dragon had become very large, it was still very agile. It easily dodged the winged serpent's claw. It twisted its body in an S shape and began to swim. It opened its mouth and bit on one of the winged serpent's wings. With a strong pull, it actually tore off a large piece. Roar! The winged serpent let out a painful howl. It turned its head and opened its mouth, revealing two sharp black teeth. It opened its mouth and bit at the little blue dragon's neck. The little blue dragon swung its head and knocked the winged serpent to the side. The winged serpent's bite missed. It flapped its wings and flew up again. Although a large piece of one of its wings had been torn off by the little blue dragon, it didn't affect its flight. Very quickly, the winged serpent flew up to 100 meters in the air. The little blue dragon swam and flew up as well. It swam in the air and came to the winged serpent's side. With a swing of its tail, it slapped the winged serpent down from the sky. Boom! The winged serpent's mountainous body fell from the sky, causing the ground to shake. Yang Tian looked at the little blue dragon in the sky and scratched his head. He didn't understand how the little blue dragon could fly without wings. This didn't conform to the principles of physics at all. However, this wasn't the time for Yang Tian to think about it. there were many warriors nearby. The fight between two large exotic beasts would definitely attract many warriors. The little blue dragon's roar and the winged serpent's cry spread out, scaring many exotic beasts away. At this time, a huge red feathered eagle in the sky noticed the fight between the little blue dragon and the winged serpent and flew over. Housekeeper Wu sat cross-legged on the back of this red feathered eagle. Housekeeper Wu had been looking for Yang Tian for several days, but he couldn't find any traces of Yang Tian. Now that he saw the two exotic beasts fighting, he was naturally curious. He ordered the red feathered eagle to fly in the direction of the sound. At this time, the winged serpent that had fallen to the ground had yet to get up. The little blue dragon in the sky rushed down and used a dragon claw to press the winged serpent's head. With a boom, the winged serpent's enormous head was pressed into the ground by the little azure dragon's claw. Pung, pung, pung. The winged serpent's twos, the ground's pangs, and the ground's pung. Roar, the serpent. Of its. Taking advantage of the moment when the little blue dragon let go of its claw, the winged serpent got up and opened its mouth to bite at the little blue dragon. Xiaolong, watch out! Yang Tian was shocked when he saw the situation and yelled out loudly. Yang Tian's warning was too late. The winged serpent had already bitten the little blue dragon's neck and tore at it forcefully, causing a few dragon scales to fall off. The little blue dragon shook its head in pain and rushed into the sky with the winged serpent's huge body. After reaching a height of about 100 meters, it fell back down. Pung! The little blue dragon and the winged serpent's huge bodies fell into the pool. The winged serpent could spit out poisonous mist, but the little blue dragon was even more powerful. The winged serpent bit its neck and refused to let go, but the little blue dragon opened its mouth and spat out red flames. Roar! As the winged serpent was burned by the flames, it let go of its mouth and roared in pain. The little blue dragon took the opportunity to bite the winged serpent's abdomen. With a forceful pull, it tore off a large piece of flesh. The winged serpent's black scales and blood flew everywhere. The winged serpent once again cried out in pain. It opened its mouth and spat out black smoke at the little blue dragon again. This time, the little blue dragon wouldn't fall for its trick. It opened its mouth and spat out flames. When the black smoke came into contact with the flames, it made a sizzling sound and then disappeared. When the winged serpent saw that its poisonous mist couldn't hurt the little blue dragon, it flapped its wings and flew into the sky. Its abdomen was still bleeding. As it flapped its wings, a large amount of blood fell down like it was raining. When the winged serpent flew into the sky, it was clear that it wanted to escape. Right at this moment, an enormous red-feathered eagle suddenly descended from the sky. Its two claws grabbed the winged serpent's neck, and it used the tip of its sharp beak to peck at the winged serpent's two eyes. The winged serpent's two eyes instantly exploded. It flapped its wings in pain, and then shook its head violently, wanting to shake off the red-feathered eagle. However, the red-feathered eagle released its claws at the right time, flapped its wings, and flew to the side. This process only took a few short seconds. Yang Tian, who was below, watched with his eyes wide open. After being attacked by the red-feathered eagle, the mutated serpent had already lost its sight. Its body rolled in the sky. The little blue dragon took the opportunity to fly into the sky. It placed its two claws on the winged serpent's back and rushed down. Boom! The winged serpent's huge body once again slammed into the ground, shaking the mountains and the earth. The little blue dragon wouldn't give the winged serpent a chance to escape this time. It opened its mouth and bit down on the winged serpent's neck. With a forceful tug, half of the winged serpent's neck was torn off and fresh blood splattered everywhere. After flinging the large piece of meat in its mouth to the side, the little blue dragon bit down again and again, breaking the winged serpent's neck in a few bites. After killing the winged serpent, the little blue dragon raised its head to look at the sky and let out a howl. The red-feathered eagle in the sky originally wanted to take advantage of the situation, but with the little blue dragon's howl, it flapped its wings and flew into the distance, quickly disappearing without a trace. Xiaolong, how is it? Yang Tian quickly ran in front of the little blue dragon and looked at its neck. The little blue dragon's neck had been bitten by the winged serpent and was still bleeding. The wound on its neck was very large, and the blood that flowed out was like a stream. It was very frightening. The little blue dragon looked around and crouched down. The battle was already over, and the little blue dragon seemed to be heavily injured. Its expression suddenly became dispirited, and it seemed to be lacking in spirit. Yang Tian immediately untied his backpack and took out all the beast cores inside. No matter if they were rank 1, rank 2, or rank 3, he opened the dragon's mouth and put them all into the little blue dragon's mouth. The little blue dragon rubbed its head against Yang Tian, and its large head made Yang Tian stagger a few times. Yang Tian couldn't help but smile bitterly. The little blue dragon's head, which was close to the ground, was even taller than him. After swallowing the beast cores, the little blue dragon's eyes regained some color. However, compared to before, it was still lacking in spirit. Yang Tian glanced at the winged serpent's corpse and walked over with his sword. Ka! 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 With extreme speed, Yang Tian slashed at the winged serpent's head dozens of times before finally chopping off its head. He directly reached his hand into the brain and grabbed a hard object the size of a fist. Beast core found. Yang Tian was delighted and took it out. This was a golden rank 7 beast core. After removing the liquid on it, it looked just like a piece of gold. Yang Tian immediately took this rank 7 beast core to the little blue dragon and put it into the little blue dragon's mouth. After a moment, the little blue dragon's eyes finally regained color. Its body was the opposite of its previous state. It was as if it was deflating and quickly became smaller. It quickly returned to its original 1-foot-long appearance. This was too amazing. Chapter 51. Condor, stop quickly. Stop quickly. Steward Wu shouted as he grabbed a few feathers from the red-feathered eagle. When he was in the sky earlier, he saw Yang Tian below. However, he did not expect the arrogant and overbearing little condor to be so frightened by the dragon's roar that it flapped its wings as if it was fleeing for its life. Steward Wu, who was sitting on little condor's back, was terrified. Even if he was a level 6 warrior, he would still be smashed to pieces if he fell from a height of 1,000 meters. As Steward Wu shouted, the red-feathered eagle, named Little Condor, finally calmed down. It slowed down its flying speed and lowered its altitude. Little Condor, go back and take a look. I saw the person we were looking for just now. Little Condor could understand Steward Wu's words, but it still flew forward in the direction of Tianxiong City. Steward Wu then said, "If you don't bring him back, Master will definitely beat you up and lock you up for a few days without food." Little Condor's eyes were filled with fear when it heard Steward Wu's words. It immediately changed its direction and flew toward the place where the dragon-snake battle had taken place. For safety's sake, it flew higher and higher. The shrunken little blue dragon burrowed into Yang Tian's arms and hung on Yang Tian's chest just like before. Yang Tian carried his saber and went to the winged serpent's huge corpse. He used the saber to slash at the strange snake's body a few times, making pong-pong sounds. The sharp-tang saber, made of whitey elemental alloy, could only leave a shallow cut on the skin. The winged serpent's skin was good for making armor. The hides and bones of many exotic beasts were materials used by cultivators to craft armor and weapons. However, exotic beasts' hides, which even weapons made of whitey elemental alloy couldn't penetrate, were extremely rare. One had to hunt exotic beasts of at least rank 8 or above to obtain them. Such strange beasts were extremely rare and hard to find. Therefore, armor that could withstand whitey elemental alloy saber was extremely precious. Yang Tian then thought of the time when the beast tide broke out. The leather armor that Qin Jingyang was wearing was just ordinary armor. Perhaps Qin Jingyang already had one, but he didn't want to wear it, or he didn't have it at all. The skin of this enormous winged serpent could probably be used to make dozens of high-quality armors. Yang Tian knew that it was impossible for him to skin the entire snake and bring it back. Taking advantage of the fact that the other martial artists had not arrived yet, he began to use his saber to try different parts of the winged serpent's body. First, he scraped off the scales, then he chopped at it, trying to find the toughest part. 10 minutes later, Yang Tian finally found the winged serpent's leg. This was undoubtedly the softest and toughest part of serpent wings' entire body. Yang Tian scraped off the scales on winged serpent's leg, using his blade to continuously cut them. During this period of time, he had been constantly fighting with other warriors. The Tang saber in his hand was chipped. At this moment, it was like a saw. After expending a great deal of effort, Yang Tian finally peeled off a large piece of skin from the winged serpent's leg. He folded it neatly and placed it into his backpack. Just this piece of snake skin was enough to make a full body armor. There was still the other leg. However, this leg was being pressed down by the winged serpent's enormous body. To flip the winged serpent over was not an easy task. Pum! At this moment, a person jumped down from the cliff that was dozens of meters high. When he landed on the ground, he made a loud noise. Yang Tian had already noticed the other person when he landed. This was a bald, middle-aged man. He wore black leather armor and metal boots on his feet. He wore a metal glove on his right hand and held a silver-white scimitar in his other hand. This scimitar's arc was very large, forming a semicircle. This was a strange type of weapon, just like the chain saber that Fonda used. Without guessing, one knew that this type of weapon's attack method was extremely strange. It was impossible to guard against. After this person landed, he directly walked towards the winged serpent's enormous head. When he saw that the winged serpent head had already been split open, he quickly walked to a spot about 10 meters away from Yang Tian. He coldly looked at Yang Tian and said indifferently, "You must be Yang Tian. Hand over the beast core, and I will not kill you." This person's voice was a little hoarse as he spoke to Yang Tian arrogantly. Yang Tian laughed. "That's impossible." The bald man coldly snorted. "Then I can only kill you. It's just a little troublesome." "Who are you?" Yang Tian looked at the bald man's cold eyes and asked. "White Tiger Dojo's level 6 martial artist, Su Zhan," the bald man said indifferently. White Tiger Dojo. Yang Tian had never heard of the White Tiger Dojo before, so he knew that this person was not a martial artist from Tianxiong City. Yang Tian had no interest in which martial artist Su Zhan belonged to. He raised his blade and pointed it at Su Zhan. Su Zhan twisted the handle of his scimitar. Ka! The other part of the blade popped out, and the entire blade turned into an S shape. Pung! Su Zhan stomped on the ground, his metal boots turning the cement on the ground into a pile of powder. Using this momentum, he rushed towards Yang Tian. Clang! Yang Tian's blade collided with Su Zhan's scimitar, producing an intense sound of collision. The moment the two of them came into contact, it seemed that neither of them had gained the upper hand. However, Yang Tian looked at his waist and saw that his black t-shirt had been cut open. The moment the two of them came into contact, a short blade had popped out of Su Zhan's metal glove. Fortunately, Yang Tian had dodged quickly, and only his clothes had been cut. His flesh had not been injured. "You're fast." Su Zhan nodded as he looked at Yang Tian. "You too," Yang Tian said as the blade in his hand turned into a few streaks of white light. He moved his body and rushed towards Su Zhan. Clang, clang, clang. The rapid sound of weapons colliding could be heard in the valley. This situation was naturally not as exciting as the battle with Dragon Snake, but it was even more dangerous. The two of them attacked very quickly. In just a few seconds, their weapons had collided dozens of times. Whoosh! Suddenly, a sound could be heard. Su Zhan swept his leg towards Yang Tian's waist. If this kick landed, Yang Tian would definitely be injured because Su Zhan's boots were made of metal. Although he was wearing heavy metal boots, Su Zhan's speed was extremely fast. He was even more agile than his hands. Yang Tian turned around and dodged the kick. However, suddenly, a silver needle shot out from behind Su Zhan's foot. It was extremely fast. Yang Tian couldn't dodge it. With a thought, the power of the Dragon Ball in his body instantly gathered at his abdomen that was about to be shot by the silver needle. Immediately after, Yang Tian felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. It was obvious that the silver needle had pierced his skin. Seeing that the inch-long silver needle didn't completely enter Yang Tian's abdomen, Su Zhan cried out in surprise. Yang Tian dodged, pulled out the silver needle from his abdomen, and threw it on the ground. Using a hidden weapon. Despicable. Yang Tian looked at Su Zhan coldly and gritted his teeth. Today is December 10th. 4 chapters today. From now on, I will maintain 3 chapters every day, usually at 6:15 in the morning, 12:20 in the afternoon, and 18:30 in the afternoon. Also, I have to say that the level of the exotic beasts is sometimes wrong and needs to be changed. I will sort out a list of the various exotic beasts level settings later on. It will not affect the friends who have already read up to here to continue reading. It will be changed today. By the way, I want to ask for recommendation votes. If there are a lot of recommendation votes one day, maybe the next day it will explode with 4 or 5 chapters. Hee. Chapter 52. Su Zhan sneered. As long as I can defeat my opponent, I can use any means. If I'm despicable, I'll smear poison on my silver needles. While the two of them were fighting, more warriors arrived. Many of them stood to the side and watched the two of them fight. Stop! Yang Tian was about to step forward when suddenly a loud shout came from the sky. Then, with a whoosh, a huge red-feathered eagle descended from the sky and landed on the ground. Yang Tian had seen this red-feathered eagle before. This eagle was also very powerful. It pecked the winged serpent's eyes blind. A person jumped down from the back of this red-feathered eagle. This person was Steward Wu. After Steward Wu landed, he said to Yang Tian, Yang Tian, Master asked me to take you back. Yang Tian naturally recognized Steward Wu. Hearing Steward Wu's words, Yang Tian finally heaved a sigh of relief. After being chased for so long, he could finally go back. He knew that since Grandpa Qin asked him to go back, he must have a way to deal with Du Xiongwu of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall. Yang Tian didn't hesitate and said with a smile, That's great. Yang Tian knew that as long as he flew into the sky, these warriors wouldn't be able to do anything to him. No! As soon as Yang Tian's voice fell, Su Zhan said coldly, If you don't hand over this winged serpent's beast core, don't even think about leaving. Hee. Even if I agree, I don't think they will agree. This winged serpent is a level 8 exotic beast. Where's the level 8 beast core? Yang Tian had already given the beast core to the little blue dragon to eat. Not to mention a level 8 beast core, he couldn't even take out a level 1 beast core now. However, Yang Tian didn't explain. He glanced at the warriors and sneered. If you want the beast core, let's see if you have the ability. Yang Tian, as long as you hand over the beast cores, you can leave this place safely. As for the martial artist warrant, it's only 2 billion martial coins. We don't care about it at all. A tall, middle-aged man walked over and said with a smile. After the man finished speaking, he said, I am Wei Changkong, a level 6 martial artist from Yangwei Martial Arts School. Yangwei Martial Arts School was one of the top 3 martial arts schools in Tianxiong City. It was no weaker than Tianwei Martial Arts School. After the man finished speaking, Yang Tian said disdainfully, You're really good at calculating. My head is worth 2 billion martial coins, and a rank 8 beast core is worth 100 billion. If I bring it back and sell it, I can issue an underworld arrest order to Dojo Master. Do I believe that some level 7 or 8 martial artists will be interested in 100 billion martial coins? After Yang Tian finished speaking, some of the martial artists laughed. Wei Zhangkong turned a deaf ear to the surrounding cultivators' laughter as he looked at Yang Tian and said coldly, Since you want to seek your own death, I can only fulfill your wish. Other than Su Zhan and Wei Zhangkong, some other high-level martial artists also walked over. A rank 8 beast core was extremely rare. It was a huge temptation for martial artists. Very few people could resist it. Of course, Yang Tian did not have a rank 8 beast core. He did not explain because even if he said that he did not have one, no one would believe him. Instead of wasting his breath to explain, he might as well admit it. As more and more martial artists arrived, Yang Tian looked at Steward Wu and said, Uncle Wu, it seems that I can't leave. Please go back and tell Grandpa Qin that I will walk back on my own." When Steward Wu heard Yang Tian's words, he sighed helplessly and said, "Your temper is as stubborn as Master's. However, I promised Master that I will bring you back safely." Steward Wu shook his hand, and a silvery white filament appeared in his hand. When Yang Tian saw the silvery white metal filament in Steward Wu's hand, he knew that Steward Wu was also an expert in using strange weapons. Steward Wu was a rank 6 martial artist. Together with the red-feathered eagle, he could deal with at least 2 rank 6 martial artists. Although Yang Tian did not swallow a rank 6 beast core, his strength was comparable to a rank 6 martial artist. On the other hand, the other party only had 2 rank 6 martial artists, Su Zhan and Wei Zhangkong. It seemed that they would win in a 2-on-3 situation. However, at this time, 3 more people walked over. One of them had long silvery white hair and carried a silvery white broadsword on his shoulder. The other person was a woman in red who was about 30 years old. Her weapon was a pair of thorns. There was also a strong, bare-chested man who held a silvery white spear in his hand. Bai Kai, Zhu Hongyu, and Zheng Daolong of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall. All 3 of them are rank 6 martial artists. Steward Wu said indifferently when he saw the 3 of them. The 3 of them walked over. The white-haired Bai Kai smiled and said, "We are here on the orders of the Hall Master to take Yang Tian's life. As for the rank 8 beast core on him, it's best that you don't have any ideas about it. Disperse." As Bai Kai spoke, he stabbed the broadsword into the ground, making a poof sound. Zhu Hongyu and Zheng Daolong, who were behind Bai Kai, looked at Yang Tian coldly and did not speak. Now, it was equivalent to 3 against 5. Yang Tian raised his broadsword and wiped off the winged serpent's blood on it with his sleeve. He said indifferently, "Are you all coming together or one by one?" After Yang Tian finished speaking, Bai Kai burst out laughing and said, "Let's fight together. Are you worthy?" Yang Tian smiled and said, "That's good. Let's do it one by one." Bai Kai turned his head and said to the woman in red, "Hongyu, this kid is your prey." Zhu Hongyu nodded and walked towards Yang Tian while holding her twin thorns. In a battle between martial artists, as long as it was in full view of the crowd, it would be embarrassing to bully the opponent with numbers. Otherwise, even if one won, they would be ridiculed by others. Of course, in a situation where there was no one else, it was a different situation, and at this time, it was under the watchful eyes of the crowd. As time passed, more and more martial artists rushed here. Most of the martial artists were staring at the gigantic winged serpent's corpse with shining eyes. Only high-level martial artists would be interested in Yang Tian and the beast cores on Yang Tian's body. This was because most of the low-level martial artists understood that with their current strength, they simply did not have the qualifications to get involved. In a short few months, Yang Tian had already grown into a high-level martial artist that no one dared to underestimate. This was the first time in the history of martial artists. It was the first time that an 18-year-old youth had become a high-level martial artist in a short few months. Even if Yang Tian died in battle this time, his name would still be passed down. Zhu Hongyu slowly walked towards Yang Tian. Her pace was extremely slow, but when she was about 10 meters away from Yang Tian, she suddenly moved. Zhu Hongyu's figure was like a rapidly flowing flame, burning towards Yang Tian. Yang Tian pulled the strap of the backpack on his shoulder. His eyes narrowed slightly as he looked coldly at Zhu Hongyu. "CSI. Clang, clang, clang." Yang Tian suddenly moved. The moment he attacked, he unleashed a torrential barrage of attacks. He had raised his attack speed to the maximum. As for Zhu Hongyu, she gritted her teeth and resisted with all her might, retreating step by step. From Zhu Hongyu's point of view, Yang Tian's attack could not be sustained for long. When Yang Tian was exhausted, it would be time to counterattack. Clang! The most violent collision sounded. Zhu Hongyu was forced back by Yang Tian's slash. As for Yang Tian, he took this opportunity to rush towards Zhu Hongyu. Suddenly, he made a turn and rushed towards the entrance of the valley. Chapter 53. Everyone thought that Yang Tian was going to engage in a fierce battle with the martialists. Who would have thought that Yang Tian would suddenly run away? Only an idiot would stay there and let you guys take turns fighting me. Yang Tian sneered. Run. This was the thought that popped into Yang Tian's head when he saw Bai Kai, Zhu Hongyu, and Zheng Dalong. Yang Tian knew very well that even if he had the power of the Dragon Ball and could withstand a battle, it was impossible for him to defeat more than 2 level 6 martialists. The only way was to run. Compared to a martialist reputation, his life was more important. Seeing Yang Tian rush out of the valley, Steward Wu smiled and nodded. He thought that Yang Tian was very clever. Just now, he was really worried that Yang Tian would fight these people head-on. Naturally, the martialists would not let Yang Tian escape. They immediately chased after him. This time, the martialists not only wanted the 2 billion reward, but they also wanted the level 8 beast core on Yang Tian. The martialists believed that the mutated snake killed by the little blue dragon was a level 8 beast. Level 8 exotic beasts were very difficult to hunt. So far, many warriors at the peak of level 7 were stuck at level 7 because they did not have a level 8 exotic beast core to raise their realm. A level 8 exotic beast core was sold for hundreds of billions of martial coins. 100 billion martial coins was an astronomical figure. Most level 7 martialists could not afford it. Yang Tian knew that from now on, as long as his realm did not increase to level 8, there would be a large number of level 7 martialists coming for him. This was not something that Yang Tian was thinking about at the moment. He only had one thought, and that was to escape. The further the better. He wanted to return to Tianxiong City with Steward Wu, but he did not have the chance to do so. What happened next? That would depend on the timing. Cultivators who owned aerial tamed beasts were extremely rare in this world. As long as one could ride on the back of a crimson feathered eagle and soar into the sky, one would be safe. The little blue dragon could also fly, but Yang Tian did not intend to let others know that he had the little blue dragon. This was because his and the little blue dragon's strength was not enough to fight against the top warriors in this world, unless they were at least level 8. Yang Tian didn't want anything to happen to the little blue dragon. He could see that the little blue dragon had yet to truly grow up. Transforming once would consume a large amount of energy. If it wasn't for the fact that the winged serpent was too powerful, the little blue dragon wouldn't have transformed to fight it. In terms of escaping speed, it was estimated that no one in this world could compare with Yang Tian. The situation went back to more than a month ago. At that time, he was being chased by Zhou. Now, he was being chased by a group of level 5 and 6 experts. Yang Tian didn't stop. After running for an entire day and night, he was so tired that he stopped. At this time, Bai Kai and the others who were chasing Yang Tian had long lost track of Yang Tian's whereabouts. Bai Kai let out a long breath and stabbed the broadsword on his shoulder into the ground. Frowning, he looked at Zhou and said, "This kid, how can he run so fast? I've been chasing him for an entire day, but I didn't expect to be left further and further behind." Zhou couldn't help but smile and said, "I don't know either. I was the same back then. I chased him for a few days, but he still managed to escape in the end. His endurance is terrifying." "How's Wu Fong?" Bai Kai asked again. The Wu Fong that Bai Kai mentioned was Steward Wu. Zhou said, "We've sent people to keep an eye on Wu Fong at all times. He can't contact Yang Tian now." Bai Kai nodded. "Keep an eye on Wu Fong. Don't let him bring Yang Tian back to the city." "Yes." Zhou nodded. "By the way, where's Zhu Hongyu?" Bai Kai looked around and asked again. Zhou looked at the warrior auxiliary device and said, "There's no news yet, but her position is very clear. She's dozens of kilometers away from us and moving. It seems that she's still chasing Yang Tian." Bai Kai immediately turned on his warrior auxiliary device and contacted Zhu Hongyu. He said, "Hongyu, come back immediately. If you chase him alone, it's easy to fall into Yang Tian's trap. That kid's strength is already equivalent to a level 6 warrior." But Zhu Hongyu responded indifferently. "Don't worry. You don't have to worry about my affairs." Bai Kai smiled disdainfully and shook his head. "I'll go find her. Zheng Dalong said and turned to leave. Bai Kai glanced at Zheng Dalong and didn't speak. Although the three of them were all warriors of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall and came together under orders, their relationship with each other wasn't very good. 2 days later, night fell again. It hadn't rained for many days. At night, it finally started to drizzle. Yang Tian unfolded the tarpaulin and followed Xiao Fei's example. He tied the four corners of the tarpaulin to a big tree and held a branch in the middle. He sat under the fire and roasted the fresh snake meat. Not long after, a dripping wet woman walked over. Zhu Hongyu. Yang Tian looked at the woman and smiled. This woman chased Yang Tian for 3 days. Yang Tian really admired her perseverance. Although it's still raining, I don't want to kill a woman. You better leave. Yang Tian glanced at Zhu Hongyu and said indifferently. Zhu Hongyu came to Yang Tian and sat down opposite him. She inserted the twin thorns in her hands beside her and then began to take off her clothes. Yang Tian frowned, but didn't turn his head. This woman was also a level 6 warrior. If he was slightly careless, he might fall in her trap. Despite being stared at by Yang Tian, Zhu Hongyu did not show any signs of embarrassment. She quickly stripped down to her underwear. She took off her red cloak, red shirt, red skirt, and red leggings and placed them beside the fire to dry them. Zhu Hongyu's figure was very good. Her face was also very delicate. The only flaw was that no matter what, her face was extremely cold. It was a sharp contrast with her red clothes. Generally, women who like to wear red clothes should have a very hot personality. Zhu Hongyu didn't mind, but Yang Tian was embarrassed. He said indifferently, "In front of your enemy, aren't you being too presumptuous?" Zhu Hongyu glanced at Yang Tian and said indifferently, "Let's fight after I dry my clothes. It doesn't matter if you kill me or I kill you. It has nothing to do with now." Yang Tian didn't understand Zhu Hongyu's words and buried his head in eating the roasted snake meat. In fact, Yang Tian deliberately started the fire to lure Zhu Hongyu over. He knew that Zhu Hongyu had followed him here alone. Yang Tian wasn't sure if he could deal with more than 2 level 6 warriors, but if it was one person, Yang Tian just said that he didn't want to kill women. In his heart, like many men, he thought that women were weak, even if this woman wanted to kill him. Yang Tian's plan was to defeat her and then let her go. After about an hour, Zhu Hongyu finally dried her clothes and put them on. She pulled out the twin thorns from the ground and stood up. She said to Yang Tian indifferently, "I'm ready. We can start now." Yang Tian looked up at Zhu Hongyu and said with a smile, "You're ready, but I'm not. I've finished today's update in one go. The rest will have to be updated tomorrow." Chapter 54. Whoosh! As soon as Yang Tian finished speaking, a sharp spike was stuck in front of Yang Tian, up to the hilt. "All right," Yang Tian said helplessly. Yang Tian pulled out the saber next to him and used the tip of the saber to pick up the spike and let it fall into Zhu Hongyu's hand. The two came to the outside of the canopy. At this time, the rain was very light, but the sky was very dark. If it were not for the fire next to them, they would not even be able to see their own fingers. Fighting in such a situation was the best test of a warrior's eyesight. Whoosh! Suddenly, Zhu Hongyu moved. Her body was very light, as if she was floating. She came in front of Yang Tian like a flash of lightning and raised her hand to stab him. Clang! Yang Tian raised his saber to block and forced Zhu Hongyu to move away. Yang Tian was fighting with a rank 5 martial artist, and there were no other warriors watching him. He seemed to be much calmer. Clang, clang, clang. The two of them kept flashing in the dark. The light of the fire turned their shadows into floating shadows, and it was difficult to tell them apart. Hiss! Suddenly, the spike in Zhu Hongyu's hand flew out and went straight for Yang Tian's face. Yang Tian tilted his head and dodged. But there was a whooshing sound behind his head, and there was the sound of wind. Yang Tian quickly lowered his head, and the spike that flew back brushed past the back of Yang Tian's head. At this time, Yang Tian was dodging, and Zhu Hongyu came in front of Yang Tian. Yang Tian had just raised his head when another spike was aimed at his chest. Yang Tian turned sideways and dodged it. With the help of the light of the fire, Yang Tian saw that there was a circle of silver-white silk around Zhu Hongyu's wrist. He finally understood why the spike that flew out of Zhu Hongyu's hand returned. It was similar to the attack of the wind chain sword. Yang Tian was glad that he reacted quickly, otherwise a hole would have been made in the back of his head by the spikes. Under the dim firelight, Yang Tian couldn't see Zhu Hongyu's face clearly, but he knew that this woman was still as cold as before. "You'd better leave while the rain stops. I didn't do my best just now. It must not have been easy for a woman like you to become a level 6 martialist. I don't want to kill you." Yang Tian looked at Zhu Hongyu's blurred face and said faintly. Zhu Hongyu didn't say anything. She answered Yang Tian with her actions. Her fiery red figure floated towards Yang Tian again. In the dark night and the faint light of the fire, she looked like a female ghost. Yang Tian poured a large amount of Dragon Ball power into his arms and legs. Holding the blade with both hands, he fiercely chopped down at Zhu Hongyu. Pung! The powerful force sent Zhu Hongyu flying with her spike. If Zhu Hongyu hadn't raised her spikes to block, and her spikes were also made of whitey elemental alloy, she would have been split in two by Yang Tian. Zhu Hongyu's body hit a big tree, shaking off the rainwater on the tree, as if it was raining heavily. In the rain, Zhu Hongyu didn't have time to react. She saw Yang Tian's blurred figure appear in front of her. Then, she heard a gust of wind. Zhu Hongyu wanted to dodge, but she didn't expect that when she used her strength, her chest would feel stuffy. Only then did she know that she had suffered internal injuries. She suddenly felt weak. Facing the incoming blade, Zhu Hongyu closed her eyes and felt the cold blade touch her neck. Then, it cut into her flesh. "You've lost. I won't kill you. Go." After a moment, Yang Tian's indifferent voice sounded and the blade on Zhu Hongyu's neck was removed. Ugh! Zhu Hongyu's chest felt stuffy. She opened her mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Her body went limp and the spikes in her hands fell. Her body slid against the large tree and fell to the side. Women really can't take a beating. Yang Tian looked at the fallen Zhu Hongyu and shook his head. He went forward and patted Zhu Hongyu's cheeks with his blade. After confirming that she wasn't faking it, he carried the red-clothed woman under the tarpaulin and placed her beside the fire to roast. A warrior's vitality was extremely strong. As long as their internal injuries weren't too serious, they would recover soon. The next morning, Zhu Hongyu woke up. She was shocked and sat up abruptly. Because she used too much strength, her internal organs were in pain. The fire was still burning and the rain had stopped. The entire forest was filled with a thick fog. Yang Tian wasn't here. Zhu Hongyu looked around and found that her weapon was beside her. Sizzle. Sizzle. At this moment, a piece of barbecued meat was pierced by a tree branch. The oil secreted by the barbecued meat fell into the fire and burned, emitting a charred smell. At this moment, there was a rustling sound not far away. Soon, two young men came out of the forest and walked over carefully. The two of them saw Zhu Hongyu dressed in red. Cough, cough. Seeing that there was a stronger warrior in the forest, the two of them were about to turn and leave. Unexpectedly, Zhu Hongyu couldn't help but cough. There was even a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth. She was injured. The two young men looked at each other and then walked towards Zhu Hongyu. Zhu Hongyu naturally saw their actions and the malicious expressions on their faces. However, she was powerless and couldn't do anything. "So it's Senior Zhu." The two of them came in front of Zhu Hongyu, and one of them said with a smile, "Scram." Zhu Hongyu looked at the two of them and said coldly, "You seem to be injured?" The two of them didn't move, and one of them asked again. Zhu Hongyu sneered and pulled out the sharp spike that was stuck at the side. She sneered and said, "Even if I'm injured, killing two level 2 warriors like you." Cough, cough. Halfway through her sentence, her throat couldn't help but itch again. She coughed twice, and the sharp spike in her hand fell to the ground. A sharp spike weighed more than 5 kilograms. At this moment, Zhu Hongyu was powerless and couldn't even hold the weapon. The two young men looked at each other again and sneered. One of them looked around and rubbed his hands. We've been in this forest for a month, and it's unbearable to hold it in. Senior Zhu is so beautiful. I wonder if you could satisfy us, brothers. Don't worry, after we're done, we'll let you die a quick death. When Zhu Hongyu heard this, she frowned. This was the first time she encountered such a situation, and she didn't know what to do. She couldn't help but blame Yang Tian in her heart. Why didn't he kill her and let her die without any dignity? After the young man finished speaking, he pulled out the knife at his waist and placed it on Zhu Hongyu's shoulder. The blade was pressed against Zhu Hongyu's neck. At this moment, the two of them finally confirmed that Zhu Hongyu was injured and didn't have any strength to resist. Otherwise, if they offended her like this, with her previous temper, she would have exploded and killed them. Hee hee. The two of them looked at each other and laughed. They put down their backpacks and untied their belts. At this moment, a white light flashed and pierced through the chest of one of the young men at an extremely fast speed. This white light was a knife. After the knife and the handle pierced through the young man's body, it actually pierced through the tree behind him, and half of the knife was buried in it. It was obvious that the person who threw this knife had used a lot of strength. The other young man was shocked by this situation, but he quickly reacted. He tightened the belt around his waist, turned around, and ran into the forest. Yang Tian suddenly rushed out from the side and caught up with the young level 2 martial artist at an extremely fast speed. He punched the man's back, and his back caved in. The man didn't even have time to scream before he died, with his eyes wide open. Yang Tian retrieved the knife that he threw and quickly walked in front of Zhu Hongyu. He shook his head and said, "This kind of person doesn't deserve to be a martial artist." After speaking, he opened his hand and extended it towards Zhu Hongyu. In the middle of Yang Tian's palm lay a white heart core. "Eat it and your injuries will heal faster," Yang Tian said with a smile. Zhu Hongyu looked coldly at Yang Tian and said indifferently, "You don't have to be so kind. I'm your enemy. Women are troublesome." Yang Tian shook his head helplessly. Then he stepped forward and pinched Zhu Hongyu's chin. He threw the heart core into her throat and patted Zhu Hongyu's back. Zhu Hongyu was forced to swallow the heart core. At this moment, Yang Tian let go of Zhu Hongyu and picked up the barbecued meat that was stuck in the fire. He sniffed it and took a bite. He began to chew slowly. Chapter 55. Did you leave just now to look for beast cores? Half an hour passed quickly. When Yang Tian wiped the oil from his mouth, Zhu Hongyu, who had just absorbed some energy from the beast cores and recovered some strength, finally asked, "Yes." Yang Tian nodded. "You suffered internal injuries, so beast cores have the best treatment effect. Why did you save me?" Zhu Hongyu looked into Yang Tian's eyes and asked again. Yang Tian smiled and said, "I said that I don't kill women, especially a beautiful woman like you. If I leave you alone, it's the same as killing you. I might as well heal you and let you go. By the way, your companion called Zheng Dalong should be here soon. I have to go." After Yang Tian finished speaking, he carried his backpack and his figure quickly disappeared into the misty forest. Half an hour after Yang Tian left, Zheng Dalong appeared in Zhu Hongyu's line of sight. Zheng Dalong checked the two corpses and frowned. He came to Zhu Hongyu and asked, "Did Yang Tian do this?" Zhu Hongyu nodded and said, "I fought with Yang Tian. I lost, and he let me go. These two wanted to take advantage of me, but they were killed by Yang Tian." Zheng Dalong said, "Yang Tian's strength is beyond our imagination. You lost, and he saved you. You definitely won't find trouble with him again. Are you planning to go back?" Zhu Hongyu said, "It's meaningless to stay here. Of course, I have to go back." "Then what about the dojo master?" Zheng Dalong frowned and asked. Zhu Hongyu said, "This is his personal grudge. We shouldn't have come. I've done my best." Zheng Dalong nodded and said, "I'll go back with you." "But Bai Kai." Zhu Hongyu looked at the fog floating in front of her and said indifferently, "We can't control him. He can't control our affairs." Seeing Zhu Hongyu's pale face, Zheng Dalong helped her up and said with a smile, "Yang Tian is a real man for not killing you. Zhu Hongyu gently pushed Zheng Dalong's hand away, bent down to pick up the twin thorns on the ground, and said, "Let's go." Zheng Dalong felt that Zhu Hongyu was not as cold to him as before. He scratched his head and nodded with a smile. Sometimes, letting someone go was more helpful than killing them. Yang Tian did not expect that after he let Zhu Hongyu go, it was equivalent to having 2 fewer enemies. The temperature in November, even in the subtropics, was very low. It had rained last night, and the air was heavy with water vapor. Under the low temperature, it had formed a fog. It was difficult for the fog to disperse in the forest, and it could continue even if the weather was bad. At this time, the visibility in the forest was extremely low. For humans, the environment in the jungle had become even worse. Under such circumstances, exotic beasts could rely on their hearing and smell, which were much more sensitive in humans, to get as close to humans as possible, and then suddenly appear. Thick clouds covered the sky above the forest for several days. In these few days, the casualties of low-level warriors were even more serious than before. Under such circumstances, many low-level warriors had no choice but to leave the forest. Winter was not a season suitable for warriors to go out. Along the way, Yang Tian had encountered many dangerous situations. However, most of the time, he encountered cultivators who wanted to kill him. The threat of exotic beasts to Yang Tian was negligible. This was because he had the little blue dragon by his side. The little blue dragon could sense the existence of high-level exotic beasts from far away. When Yang Tian was tired and needed a rest, it could even stand guard for Yang Tian. Under the circumstances where he did not encounter other warriors, Yang Tian's days in the forest were the most comfortable. After swallowing the winged serpent's rank 7 beast core that day, the little blue dragon quickly woke up. Its body was thicker than before, and in Yang Tian's words, it was a little fatter. 5 days had passed since he defeated Zhu Hongyu. It was the middle of November now. Under the little blue dragon's reminder, Yang Tian kept avoiding exotic beasts and other warriors that were dangerous to him, moving about in the forest with ease. During this period of time, Yang Tian was looking for a place to settle down. Constantly moving about in the forest was not a good idea. This place is not bad. Seeing the situation in the cave, Yang Tian smiled. This was a very deep underground cave that the little blue dragon had found for him. The entrance was a crack in the cliff that was covered by vines, allowing only one person to pass through at a time. In the underground cave, there were dry areas, and there was also underground water that flowed through. The temperature of the water was much higher than the temperature of the outside environment. After seeping out from the ground, it formed a small pool that was only about a meter deep and was very clear. Yang Tian turned on the flashlight that he had not used for a long time. He looked around the cave boldly and decided to rest in this cave for a while. After leaving the underground cave, the little blue dragon patrolled the surroundings. Yang Tian collected many dried branches nearby and transported them all to the underground cave. Looking at the mountain of dried branches, Yang Tian smiled and started a fire. In this forest, there was never a lack of food. What was lacking was the various vitamins that the human body needed, as well as the essential salt. After starting the fire, Yang Tian saw that there was only half a tael of salt left. He could not help but frown. He still had a large bottle of vitamin tablets. 1 tablet a day could last for half a year. Even if there was no more, there were many edible plants in the forest. Eating these plants could replenish the vitamins that the body lacked. There was not much salt left, but it was a big problem. If he wanted to get salt, he could only snatch it from other warriors. After starting the fire, it would probably burn for a few hours. Yang Tian brought the little blue dragon out of the underground cave. They walked more than 20 kilometers in one breath, spending 1.5 hours. On a small hill, Yang Tian stopped. He turned on his warrior auxiliary device and connected it to the internet. What Yang Tian thought of, he had to do very soon. The fastest way to find other warriors and snatch survival materials from them was to attract them over. When the auxiliary device connected to the internet, Yang Tian received more than 10 messages. Most of them were from Qin Fei, asking about Yang Tian's current situation. Then there were messages from Yang Tian's parents, saying that he was doing very well and that there was no need for Yang Tian to worry. What Yang Tian did not expect was that Xiao Fei actually sent him several messages. It said that he had prepared many things for Yang Tian. Seeing the messages from Xiao Fei, Yang Tian felt warm his heart. He looked at the time. Xiao Fei and the others had just entered the forest not long ago. Yang Tian immediately turned on the positioning mode of the auxiliary device and found out where Xiao Fei and the others were. They were more than 100 kilometers away from him. After remembering the location, Yang Tian immediately replied to Qin Fei and his parents, telling them not to worry about him. Then, he sent another message to Xiao Fei, telling them to wait here and that he would be there in a few days. After sending these messages, Yang Tian turned off the auxiliary device. Xiao Fei and the others had been in the forest for many days. When they reached the location where they separated from Yang Tian, Xiao Fei sent a message to Yang Tian, hoping that Yang Tian would receive it. He also gave Yang Tian permission to locate the auxiliary device. Back then, when he told Yang Tian to throw away the auxiliary device, he was a little too impatient. Fortunately, Yang Tian found it again. Otherwise, it would be almost impossible to contact Yang Tian in this vast forest. Encountering such a situation, the only thing Xiao Fei and the others could do for Yang Tian was to let him take care of him. In winter, the forest was filled with fog, making it even harder to advance. Some exotic beasts would rush out from time to time. Even Zhao Wu, who was the weakest among them, was injured. Captain, say, Old Eight's cultivation has already reached the 6th rank, right? Even Shunwei Dojo's Zhu Hongyu was defeated by Old Eighth. If he's so powerful, why is he still hiding in the forest? Zhao Wu asked in confusion as they walked. The Old Eighth he was talking about was naturally Yang Tian. Even now, Xiao Fei and the others still saw Yang Tian as their teammate. Zhao Wu's arm was wrapped in a bandage, with a large patch of black blood on it. He was bitten by a feline beast. When Zhao Wu asked this question, Xiao Fei smiled and said, "He can hide everywhere in the forest. It's very difficult for others to find him. Even if they find him, he can escape very quickly. However, once he's outside, he'll be surrounded by cultivators if he's discovered. It'll be hard to escape, even if he wants to." Actually, many people understood this logic. Zhao Wu was puzzled because he wasn't strong enough. In his opinion, a 6th-rank cultivator was already very powerful. They could ignore the 2 billion martial coins wanted order against him. Chapter 56. I wonder when Old Eight will be able to come out and drink with the rest of us. Looking at the seemingly endless fog-shrouded forest, Wang Guang muttered to himself. At this moment, Xiao Fei's support device received a message. Xiao Fei immediately opened the message. Looking at it, he couldn't help but smile. Old Eight sent us a message, telling us to wait here. He'll be here in a few days. Hearing this good news, his teammates all smiled. Wang Guang threw the Gatling gun in his hand onto the ground and lay down. He let out a long sigh and smiled. We can finally rest for a few days. The others, Xiao Fei, Zhou Feng, Lu Xiao, Zhao Wu, Lu Jian, and Li Xian, also let out sighs of relief and rested on the spot. In order to find Yang Tian and get closer to Yang Tian, they had been moving forward nonstop for the past 10 days. They were much more tired than the last time they entered the forest. After resting for an hour, Xiao Fei walked around and found a flat area to use as a temporary resting place. This time, Xiao Fei's team brought more equipment. In order to guard against the blackback wolves, they even brought an alloy net. This net was made of alloy wire and covered in spikes. The blackback wolves would find it hard to bite through it. As long as they surrounded the camp, they could stop the wolves from attacking. After setting up the camp, the sky was already dark. The team of 7 split into 2 groups, taking turns to guard and rest. The next morning, Yang Tian didn't immediately go to Xiao Fei's place. Instead, he hurried in another direction. Previously, their team of 8 had entered the forest to kill a silverback bear and obtain a rank 5 beast core. A rank 5 beast core was exactly what Xiao Fei needed. However, That rank 5 beast core was swallowed by Yang Tian. Now, Yang Tian wanted to kill a rank 5 exotic beast and find a rank 5 beast core to give to Xiao Fei. As for his other teammates, Yang Tian naturally wouldn't forget them. For a martial artist to continuously become stronger, connections and relationships were also very important. Sometimes, everyone would help each other and improve together. Zhi. As Yang Tian was walking, the little blue dragon let out a cry to remind Yang Tian that someone was coming. After the little blue dragon reminded Yang Tian, it jumped off Yang Tian's shoulder and quickly ran to a big tree. The newcomer ran straight towards Yang Tian and soon met up with Yang Tian. Su Zhan. Yang Tian didn't arrive, and the person he encountered was actually Su Zhan. When Su Zhan saw Yang Tian, he raised his left hand without an iron glove and touched his bald head with a smile before putting down his backpack. Yang Tian saw greed in the other party's eyes. An 8th grade beast core, huh? Yang Tian also laughed, but it was a disdainful smile. Between martial artists, the strong preyed on the weak. It was very common for the strong to rob the weak of their possessions. Some people did not find it shameful, but rather proud of it. Su Zhan was undoubtedly such a person. Yang Tian hated this kind of person from the bottom of his heart. Last time in the Clear Stream Valley, because there were other martial artists on the side, there was no winner between the two of them. But now, Yang Tian took off his backpack and threw it on the ground. This time, he would not let Su Zhan go. Suddenly, Su Zhan moved. He stepped on the ground and crushed the wet mud under his feet as he pounced towards Yang Tian. During this process, Su Zhan pulled out the scimitar at his waist, pressed the button on it, and with a click, the other half of the scimitar popped out. At this time, Su Zhan raised his hand, and the S-shaped scimitar flew out of his hand at a rapid speed towards Yang Tian. From the beginning of Su Zhan's action, this process was very short, not even 5 seconds. Clang! Yang Tian narrowed his eyes slightly and slashed the scimitar that was spinning rapidly towards him. At this time, Su Zhan had already arrived and swept his leg towards Yang Tian's abdomen. Yang Tian blocked with his scimitar and slashed at Su Zhan's metal boots. Su Zhan used the same trick again. The mechanism on the metal boots opened, and a silver-white needle shot towards Yang Tian. Yang Tian was already prepared and dodged. Su Zhan's attack did not hurt Yang Tian. He dodged to the side of a large tree, pulled out the scimitar that was cut into the tree, and rushed towards Yang Tian again. Su Zhan's attack speed was very fast, and his strength was also very strong. He was also wearing a thick leather armor. Yang Tian's scimitar could only force him to take a few steps back and could not hurt him. At this time, Yang Tian finally realized that the seemingly simple leather armor on Su Zhan was actually fresh. He knew that the leather armor on his body was made from the winged serpent skin. No wonder its defense was amazing and could ignore some of Yang Tian's scimitars. Bang! A violent collision sounded. Suddenly, Yang Tian was kicked flying by Su Zhan along with his scimitar. After Yang Tian landed on the ground, he spat out the soil that splashed into his mouth and flipped over. Looking at Yang Tian's miserable appearance, Su Zhan sneered. Looking at Su Zhan's greedy sneer, Yang Tian felt very uncomfortable and hated Su Zhan even more. Some people would like them at first sight, and some people would not want to see them a second time after seeing them at first sight. In Yang Tian's eyes, Su Zhan belonged to the latter. Yang Tian stabbed the scimitar in his hand into the ground and put his hands behind his back. Admit defeat. Seeing Yang Tian like this, Su Zhan was somewhat surprised and asked with a cold smile. Yang Tian smiled and said, "Of course not, because I really want to kill you. Don't you think that many people hate you?" When Yang Tian said this, Su Zhan's face became gloomy. Obviously, Yang Tian had hit Su Zhan's sore spot. This was what Yang Tian had expected. No one would like a selfish and greedy person who would do anything to win. You're courting death. Seeing the sympathy in Yang Tian's eyes, Su Zhan shouted angrily, opened his metal gloves, and rushed toward Yang Tian. Huff! When he rushed in front of Yang Tian, Su Zhan's right hand, which was wearing a metal glove, closed his 5 fingers and stabbed toward Yang Tian's chest. This was a ruthless move that dug out the heart and lungs. As long as his fingers could pierce into the opponent's chest, he could injure the opponent's internal organs with a hook of his finger. However, Yang Tian smiled coldly. His face was cold and murderous. Suddenly, he raised his hand and grabbed Su Zhan's wrist. Su Zhan was restrained. He instinctively used his left hand that was holding the machete to slash at Yang Tian's neck. Yang Tian raised his other arm to block. Bang! Su Zhan's machete was bounced away. At this time, Su Zhan saw clearly that Yang Tian's hands had turned into beast claws. His reaction was also very fast. He raised his leg and kicked at Yang Tian's abdomen. Yang Tian let go of Su Zhan's hand and took a few steps back to avoid Su Zhan's kick. You! Impossible! The two separated. Su Zhan looked at Yang Tian's hands and said in horror. He knew that Yang Tian's hands were not wearing gloves. They had really changed. His hands had turned into beast claws. Seeing the surprised expression on Su Zhan's face, Yang Tian smiled and said, In this world, even a dragon has appeared. Nothing is impossible. Su Zhan was stunned. He woke up from his shock and said with gritted teeth, You are not human. Yang Tian did not want to waste any more words with Su Zhan. He moved and charged at Su Zhan. Bang, bang, bang. Without using weapons, Yang Tian attacked with just his claws. No, the speed of his claws became very terrifying. As he waved them, they formed afterimages. Under Yang Tian's fast attack, Su Zhan naturally could not react. In a moment, his chest was scratched into a bloody mess by Yang Tian. The simple leather armor, made from the winged serpent skin, was like paper under Yang Tian's claws. Woo! Su Zhan suddenly took 2 steps back. He raised his leg and swept towards Yang Tian's waist. He shot out several silver-white needles from his heel, but they were blocked by Yang Tian's arm and even caught his leg. Yang Tian exerted force. The tip of his claws pierced through Su Zhan's metal boots and pierced into the flesh on Su Zhan's leg. Then, Yang Tian pulled with force. With a poof, the metal boots on Su Zhan's leg were torn apart, and a piece of flesh was torn off. The boots on Su Zhan's feet were made of alloy material, but not whitey elemental alloy. Naturally, they were torn apart by Yang Tian's claws. This was the first time Yang Tian used dragon claws to fight with a martial artist. The effect was very good. The transformed hand, whether it was strength or speed, was much stronger than before. Su Zhan endured the pain on his leg and took a few steps back. Then, he turned and ran. Chapter 57. Yang Tian wouldn't let this guy escape. Not only did he want to kill Su Zhan, but Su Zhan also knew his secret. Among the level 6 warriors, no one could run faster than Yang Tian. Yang Tian smiled coldly and chased after him. Cheep, cheep. At this moment, the little blue dragon on the tree beside them cried out twice. It jumped on the tree trunk and chased after Su Zhan. The little blue dragon obviously understood that it couldn't let Su Zhan escape. Su Zhan ran very quickly. He knew that if he didn't escape, there would only be one outcome, and that was death. Suddenly, Su Zhan, who was running away, heard a gust of wind beside his ear. Then, his vision turned black and he felt a sharp pain. Bang! Su Zhan, who was running away, slammed into a big tree because he had lost his sight and fainted. Yang Tian ran over and looked at Su Zhan, who was lying on the ground. He grabbed Su Zhan's neck and twisted it forcefully. The unconscious Su Zhan's neck was broken by Yang Tian. The reason why Su Zhan lost his sight was because the little blue dragon had crushed his eyeballs. PFFF, PFFF, PFFF. After searching for the auxiliary device on Su Zhan's body, Yang Tian crushed it. Then he raised his claws and dug a big hole in the ground. He threw Su Zhan's body into the hole, covered it with soil, stepped on it tightly, and covered it with leaves. This way, no one would find out that Su Zhan had been killed in a short period of time. Yang Tian retracted the power of the Dragon Ball that he had poured into his hands, and his hands returned to their original state. This was the first time the little blue dragon had cooperated with Yang Tian to kill a warrior. If they did this in the future, Yang Tian could easily defeat level 6 warriors. Yang Tian found Su Zhan's backpack and found some seasoning packs, 1 kilogram of salt, 2 level 1 beast cores, 2 level 2 beast cores, and 1 level 3 beast core. With Su Zhan's greedy behavior, it was unknown whether he obtained these beast cores from hunting mutated beasts or snatching them from other martial practitioners. Although he would be able to get more from Xiao Fei and the others soon, Yang Tian still put away the salt and seasoning bags and placed the 5 beast cores into his pocket. After putting away the things, Yang Tian quickly left. Yang Tian and Su Zhan hadn't even fought for 10 minutes. After Yang Tian left, even more martial artists rushed over. This was why Du Xiongwu was so despicable. Through Tianxiong City's communication center, he could find out the location of a martial artist with a martial artist auxiliary device. As long as Yang Tian used the auxiliary device to connect to the network, the people in the communication center would know very quickly. Then, they would send Yang Tian's location to other martial artists. Fortunately, the martial artist's auxiliary device wasn't produced in Tianxiong City, so every communication was encrypted. Otherwise, Du Xiongwu would have known even more. Perhaps, even if Yang Tian had switched off his device, he would have been able to activate the auxiliary device's system automatically and obtain Yang Tian's specific location. After killing Su Zhan, Yang Tian's next target was a level 5 beast. Before meeting Xiao Fei, Yang Tian had to find a level 5 beast core. If it had been any other martial artist, this would have been an extremely difficult task to accomplish in a short amount of time. After all, the exotic beasts in the forest weren't something they could find easily. However, it was extremely easy for Yang Tian, as he had the little blue dragon leading the way. Squeak, squeak, squeak. After walking for some distance, the little blue dragon cried out and told Yang Tian that there was a level 4 beast 1 kilometer ahead. Although the little blue dragon could sense the existence of beast cores, there was still a certain distance limit. The little blue dragon could sense the existence of beast cores within a 5-kilometer radius. Within a 1-kilometer radius, it could determine the level of a beast core. Of course, this wasn't absolute. If the level of a beast core was higher, the little blue dragon would be able to sense it even more clearly. Just like the winged serpent from before, it had been detected by the little blue dragon before it had even entered the valley. Also, the little blue dragon didn't know what kind of exotic beast possessed a beast core. A level 4 beast core? To Yang Tian, this was something he had to obtain. Given his current strength, he could easily hunt down a level 4 exotic beast. Under the little blue dragon's guidance, Yang Tian quickly ran through the forest and soon arrived at the edge of a pool formed by a stream. A crocodile. When he saw the owner of the level 4 beast core, Yang Tian's eyes widened. Since when were there crocodiles in this forest? Yang Tian didn't understand. Before the YS virus outbreak, crocodiles didn't exist in this area. It must have been brought here by humans, right? Yang Tian thought about it and understood the reason. The survivability of exotic beasts was many times stronger than before the mutation. This crocodile must have been brought here by humans from somewhere else before the YS virus outbreak. Yang Tian stood at the edge of the pool and looked at the yellow-backed crocodile in the pool. He was thinking about how he could get rid of it. The pool wasn't very big, but the water was very deep. Although the crocodile was huge, with a body length of 10 meters, it could easily dive into the water. Yang Tian wasn't confident in getting rid of a level 4 exotic beast in the water. Even now, the ocean was a place that martialists couldn't set foot in, not even in shallow waters. When a yellow-backed crocodile saw Yang Tian, it actually swam towards Yang Tian. In response, Yang Tian started to slowly retreat. After the yellow-backed crocodile climbed up the cliff, it moved very quickly on land and rushed towards Yang Tian. It must have thought that Yang Tian had invaded its territory and wanted to chase Yang Tian away. High-level exotic beasts had a sense of territory. Under normal circumstances, they wouldn't allow other exotic beasts to live in their territory. This pool was a good place for this crocodile. Many exotic beasts in the forest needed to drink water, and when the exotic beasts drank water, it provided a source of food for the crocodile. Yang Tian sped up his retreat, trying to lure the crocodile as far away from the pool as possible. However, about 50 meters away from the pool, the yellowback crocodile realized that Yang Tian was faster than it. It gave up, turned around, and crawled back into the pool. Yang Tian couldn't let it return to the pool, so he immediately rushed over. Yang Tian was about 20 meters away from the crocodile. When the yellowback crocodile heard Yang Tian's footsteps, it suddenly raised its head, turned around, and opened its mouth at Yang Tian. Although this crocodile was only a level 4 exotic beast, Yang Tian didn't underestimate it. When he was about 5-6 meters away from the crocodile, Yang Tian jumped high, flipped in the air, and stabbed the yellowback crocodile's head with a knife in his hand. Pooh! The knife in Yang Tian's hand only pierced the tip of the knife. It didn't go deep into the yellowback crocodile's body. What thick skin! Yang Tian sighed, pulled out the knife, and punched the yellowback crocodile's head. Pong! Yang Tian had used all his strength. This punch was enough to break a large tree that was as thick as a bowl. However, his fist was rebounded. The yellowback crocodile shook its head, throwing Yang Tian to the side. Although this crocodile was only a level 4 exotic beast, its resistance to attacks was too strong. However, its movements were too slow. For Yang Tian, this was its fatal weakness. Gigi! At this moment, the little blue dragon cried out, telling Yang Tian that someone was coming from afar. It really wasn't the right time. Yang Tian looked at the yellowback crocodile, wondering if he should let this guy go. Xiaolong, kill it! Yang Tian had no choice but to let the little blue dragon go. For Yang Tian, there wasn't much time left for him. He didn't want to let Xiao Fei and the others wait in one place for too long. Gigi! The little blue dragon cried out excitedly, jumped onto the yellowback crocodile's head, and waved its claws. After swallowing the level 7 beast core, not only did the little blue dragon replenish the energy consumed by the force transformation, its strength also increased by a level. Its claws were even more powerful than before. The little blue dragon's claws kept waving. Under the constant struggle of the yellowback crocodile, in less than a minute, its claws pierced through the yellowback crocodile's skull. It took out a green level 4 beast core from the yellowback crocodile's head and jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder. Yang Tian put on his backpack and quickly left. A few minutes later, Zhao Shuangxing's group of 5 appeared. They saw the yellowback crocodile's corpse at a glance. This wasn't done by a human. It should be a type of exotic beast. Zhao Shuangxing frowned after looking at the big hole in the yellowback crocodile's head. This is a level 4 yellowback crocodile. To be able to kill it so cleanly, that exotic beast should be level 5 or above. Moreover, its head isn't that big. The black-clothed girl on the side analyzed. A very small high-level exotic beast. This wasn't good news for the martial artists in the forest. Zhao Shuangxing immediately used his martial artist auxiliary tool to spread the news. Chapter 58. At this time, Yang Tian naturally didn't know that Zhao Shuangxing had arrived. Even if it was Zhao Shuangxing, he wouldn't meet him face to face because he knew that all the cultivators now thought that he had a grade 8 beast core in his hands. Zhao Shuangxing didn't have the intention to kill him before, but it was probably different now. Not all cultivators could resist the temptation of a grade 8 beast core. Yang Tian moved forward quickly, striving to find a grade 5 exotic beast and obtain a grade 5 beast core before dark. Due to Yang Tian activating the warrior assistive equipment not long ago, the surrounding martial artists swarmed over like flies. Not long after Yang Tian moved forward, he met a middle-aged woman and a young man. Yang Tian saw them first. Seeing the intimacy between the two as they walked, he knew that their relationship wasn't ordinary. He smiled and moved in another direction. This situation made Yang Tian realize that the number of cultivators who came here was already very high. If it weren't for the little blue dragon's reminder, he would probably have been entangled by others long ago. Under these circumstances, Yang Tian had no choice but to slow down. When night fell, under the guidance of the little blue dragon, he finally found a grade 5 silverback bear. Previously, Yang Tian's team of 8 had spent a lot of effort to kill the grade 5 silverback bear. But this time, Yang Tian chopped off the silverback bear's huge head with 2 slashes and took out a light blue grade 5 beast core from its head. The process of the battle was extremely easy for Yang Tian. This was because in a short span of 2 months, Yang Tian's strength had increased rapidly. Now, he was even confident that he could kill a grade 6 exotic beast. Taking advantage of the night, a large number of cultivators set up camp to rest. Under the guidance of the little blue dragon, Yang Tian silently moved through the forest 3 days later. The weather was excellent. The thick clouds shrouding the sky had finally dispersed. The gentle sunlight shone down from the sky, and the fog that pervaded the forest had finally dispersed. When the weather was good, one's mood would also become better. Yang Tian was very happy now, because in another 10 or so kilometers, he would arrive at the agreed location with Xiao Fei and the others. Suddenly, the sound of wolves howling came from the forest in front of them. Yang Tian had heard this sound countless times during this period of time. Judging from the sound, he could tell that the wolf that howled was a normal blackback wolf, a grade 1 silver-toothed wolf, or an even higher level wolf pack leader. Wolf pack. When Yang Tian heard the wolf howl, he knew that it was the signal to attack from the pack leader. Very quickly, the sound of machine guns to sound. In the forest, under normal circumstances, if they knew that other cultivators were being attacked by a wolf pack, they would be far away from them. Cultivators to cultivators to each other to each other as to each other to ones they were strangers. However, he was the only direction. To be at herd to twoses, to be heard to his twos to be heard to herd. That was two. That would be trouble, and the beat ahead would be a matter. Yang Tian's guess was right. Xiao Fei and the others were currently being attacked by a wolf pack. The number of wolves in this pack was at least twice the number of the wolves they had encountered the first time. In this forest, the wolf pack's range of activity was fixed, and they wouldn't go too deep into the dangerous areas. That was because there were even higher-level exotic beasts there. No matter how many wolves there were, they wouldn't be enough for those exotic beasts to eat. About 10 minutes later, Wang Guang, who was standing in front of the second circle of alloy net, emptied his Gatling gun's bullets and threw the heavy machine gun on ground. At this moment, the outside of the alloy net was littered with wolf corpses. Although a large number of them were killed, the wolves were still attacking fearlessly. The 5-meter-tall alloy net covered in spikes wasn't able to stop their attack. Several hundred blackback wolves and a small number of silver-toothed wolves started tearing at the last circle of the metal net, or climbed up the metal net. Although the alloy net was sturdy, it couldn't be compared to the city walls. Under the pressure and climbing of the wolves, the metal pillars supporting the alloy net were on the verge of collapsing. It looked like they wouldn't be able to hold on any longer. I didn't expect that we would be so unlucky as to encounter another wolf pack, Zhao Wu said with a bitter smile as he watched the wolf pack's crazy attack. Xiao Fei wiped off the wolf blood on his face and said with a smile, "This place is where wolves roam. If we stay here for too long, we'll definitely be discovered by them." "Captain, what do we do now?" Li Xian shot the last arrow and threw down his bow, asking Xiao Fei. Xiao Fei tightened his grip on the knife in his hand. "We can only split up and rush out later. It'll depend on our luck." This was also the best method. If they gathered together, even if they rushed out, they wouldn't be as agile as the wolves and would quickly be surrounded by them. If they split up and try to break out, the wolves would also split up, giving everyone a chance to escape. Of course, it would depend on their luck. Being targeted by a wolf pack in this forest wasn't a good thing. Hearing Xiao Fei's plan, Zhao Wu squatted down and started organizing his things silently. He knew that among the 7 people in the team, his chances of survival were the slimmest because he was the weakest. Seeing Zhao Wu's appearance, Xiao Fei understood what he was thinking. He stepped forward and patted Zhao Wu's shoulder, saying, "Old Wu, don't worry. I won't leave you behind. Wait a moment, you come with me." I can guarantee that I'll die before you. I'm not leaving either, Wang Guang said. Let's die together. In any case, we're already prepared for this when we entered the forest. We'll be killed by exotic beasts or by other cultivators, Li Xian said with a smile as he tidied his hair. At this moment, the rest of the team nodded as well. This way, Xiao Fei's plan had been rejected. Looking at his young teammates, Xiao Fei couldn't help but smile bitterly. Awoo! Not far away, the wolf's howl rang out again. However, this howl suddenly stopped halfway, as if the leader of the wolf pack had suddenly been choked by someone while howling. At this moment, the alloy net surrounding the camp was about to fall. However, when the howl stopped, the wolf pack suddenly panicked. A few hundred meters away, Yang Tian cut open the head of a green-toothed wolf and retrieved a red level 3 beast core. Another level 3 exotic beast, Yang Tian said as he glanced at the corpse of the wolf and casually put the beast core into his pocket. With the leader of the wolf pack killed, the wolf pack naturally fell into chaos. The blackback wolves scattered in all directions, and soon all of them were gone. This time, with the help of the alloy net, the battle was not that intense. Other than Wang Fei, who used the Gatling gun to kill more than 200 wolves, the others only managed to kill more than 10 wolves after the outer layer of the alloy net was broken. The wolf pack finally retreated. Xiao Fei opened up the alloy net and looked in the direction of the howls. Soon, a man holding a blade walked out. Yang Tian, Xiao Fei called out in surprise when he saw the person who came. In Xiao Fei's eyes, Yang Tian seemed much more mature than before. Of course, this was only in terms of temperament. In terms of appearance, Yang Tian didn't change much. After all, they had only been apart for 2 months. Captain, I'm here. Luckily, I made it in time, Yang Tian said with a smile as he stood in front of Xiao Fei. Xiao Fei walked up and hugged Yang Tian. At this moment, the other 6 teammates also walked over happily and hugged Yang Tian. Woo, old 8, you stink. If you have the chance, you must wash yourself properly. Otherwise, if the smell doesn't go away for a long time, it will become your body odor. If you don't sleep with her, she won't be able to sleep with you, Lu Xiao said jokingly while covering his nose after hugging Yang Tian. After saying that, Lu Xiao laughed out loud. Yang Tian scratched his head in embarrassment. The 7 of them walked into a tent and sat together. Under Xiao Fei's questioning, Yang Tian recounted some of his recent experiences. What? You don't have a rank 8 beast core? Zhao was said in shock after hearing Yang Tian talk about the clear stream valley. However, Xiao Fei smiled and said, high-level exotic beasts fight to obtain the other party's beast core, so they can evolve faster. The beast core must have been eaten by another exotic beast. Yang Tian just happened to be there at that time. He must have been misunderstood by others. Yang Tian smiled and didn't say anything. Chapter 59. After Yang Tian finished speaking, Xiao Fei introduced Yang Tian to some of the things he had prepared for Yang Tian. Xiao Fei had lived in the forest for the longest time, so he naturally knew what Yang Tian needed. Night vision goggles, dozens of jeans of salt, various condiments, a change of clothes, shower gel, all kinds of daily necessities were available. Finally, Xiao Fei took out a video player and said to Yang Tian, when I set off, I heard that you're already a rank 5 fighter. The weapons you use are sabers and fist techniques. In this video player, there are 3 sets of rank 5 saber techniques and 3 sets of rank 5 fist techniques. They're all very powerful combat skills, so you might be able to use them. Also, this is a satellite phone. Captain, Yang Tian was very touched that Xiao Fei had thought of him so thoroughly. Seeing Yang Tian's red eyes, Xiao Fei patted Yang Tian's shoulder and said with a smile, we are all brothers. Although we haven't known each other for a long time, our team's motto is to share blessings and endure hardships together. This time, I can't go through hardships with you, so I sold the beast cores we obtained together in exchange for these things. Captain, you must have spent a lot of money, right? Yang Tian knew the price of a rank 5 combat skill and asked with a smile. Xiao Fei waved his hand heroically and said, money is just a worldly possession, so it's nothing. Speaking of beast cores, Yang Tian suddenly recalled that he had quite a number of beast cores on him, from rank 1 to rank 5. He had them all. He originally wanted to give these beast cores to his teammates, so he took them all out and said with a smile, "It's not like I didn't gain anything during this period of time. I prepared these beast cores for you guys." In the 3 days that they had been here, Yang Tian had encountered quite a few fighters along the way. Some of them didn't have eyes and were killed by Yang Tian, and their beast cores were found by Yang Tian after he killed exotic beasts. In total, there were more than 20 beast cores. Wow, so many. Seeing so many beast cores, Zhou Feng cried out in surprise. This was the first time she saw so many beast cores placed together, especially the light blue rank 5 beast cores, which were exactly what her captain needed. This, eighth brother, this is too much. Xiao Fei hesitated on whether to accept the beast cores or not. After all, there were too many of them. The total value of these beast cores exceeded 500 million martial coins. Seeing Xiao Fei's unhappy expression, Yang Tian pretended to be unhappy and said, "Captain, if you don't want them, then I don't want these survival materials as well." "All right." Seeing Yang Tian's determination, Xiao Fei nodded his head. Various items that Yang Tian needed were placed in 2 large backpacks that weighed over 200 pounds. If it was an ordinary person, they would not be able to carry such a heavy object, but for Yang Tian, it was not a problem at all. "Brother, what do you plan to do next? You can't always stay in the forest?" Everyone did not sleep for the entire night. When the sun rose in the morning and Xiao Fei was ready to head back, Xiao Fei could not help but ask. If not for the pursuit of cultivators, Yang Tian would have been able to live comfortably in this forest with the help of Little Azure Dragon. But now, in addition to facing mutated beasts, he also had to guard against cultivators who were even more dangerous. He could be considered to be on high alert as he passed his days. Yang Tian had naturally thought about this problem. He smiled and said, "Everyone, don't worry. On this day next year, I, Yang Tian, will definitely be in Tianxiong City. Also, I found a secluded place. I can have some peace for a while." Xiao Fei did not ask any more questions and nodded his head. Yang Tian carried a huge backpack on one shoulder, which almost covered his entire body. Soon, he disappeared into the forest. Previously, Xiao Fei and the others thought that even if Yang Tian came here, he would still be wary of them. They even planned to leave immediately after handing the things to Yang Tian. But Yang Tian still trusted them like before. This was good. In this world where the strong preyed on the weak, it was hard to be trusted by others. But it was something that was worth cherishing. Xiao Fei thought about how Yang Tian had fallen asleep in front of him for a while last night. He then thought about how he was overthinking and shook his head awkwardly. Brother 8 is still the same as before. Yang Tian had left for a long time, but the 7 of them were still looking at the place where Yang Tian had disappeared. At this time, Lu Jian, who did not like to talk much, said. Everyone nodded their heads. What Lu Jian said was still the same as before. Of course, he was not talking about Yang Tian's appearance, but Yang Tian's heart. "All right, since the matter is settled, we should go back. Brother 8 said that we should get drunk when we go back. He'll treat us." Xiao Fei came back to his senses and smiled. It was already the end of November. If it was before the outbreak of the YS virus, the temperature would still be very high. But now, the global average temperature had dropped significantly. Now, snowflakes were falling from the sky. Although the snow was not very heavy at the start and would melt as soon as it touched the ground, as the temperature dropped, the snow would also become heavier until the entire forest was covered in snow. Yang Tian took advantage of the night and returned to the underground cave. Although it was cold outside, the cave was as warm as spring. The water that gushed out from the ground was steaming. Once he returned to the cave, Yang Tian started a fire. He took out new clothes, body wash, and shampoo from his backpack that contained daily necessities and soaked himself in the pool with the little blue dragon. The water in the pool was at least 10 degrees Celsius. Moreover, it was flowing and there was no need to worry about getting dirty. It was like a natural bathtub. The man and the dragon soaked in the water, their eyes filled with comfort. Yang Tian was enjoying the hot spring. Outside, countless martial artists were searching for traces of Yang Tian. Forget it, there's no point in staying here. Yang Tian must have found a place to hide. Let's return to Tianxiong City. Zhao Shuangxing said calmly as she looked at the snowflakes falling from the sky. The lady in black beside her nodded and said, "We can go to Qingxi Valley and stay there for a while." Zhao Shuangxing shook her head. Qingxi Valley had become a stronghold for the martial artists. There were at least 200 martial artists living there. The entire valley had been renovated. It looked completely different from when Yang Tian had left. The weeds on the ground had been removed. After washing it with water, the cement floor was revealed. The large pool had also been cleaned and surrounded by a tarpaulin. It had become a place for the martial artists to bathe. The place they lived in was basically perfect, but in terms of daily necessities, it was extremely lacking. This place was already in the depths of the danger zone. No one dared to fly in a helicopter to deliver supplies. Before the snow had sealed the mountain, most of the martial artists had the same idea as Zhao Shuangxing. After taking a bath, Yang Tian changed into a new set of clean clothes. He took out a satellite phone from his backpack and randomly picked one out of the dozens of SIM cards. He opened the cover of the satellite phone and inserted the SIM card into it. After activating the satellite phone, Yang Tian was delighted to find that there was signal in this underground cave. Yang Tian first dialed his parents' number. For safety reasons, Yang Tian's parents had naturally changed their phone numbers. They gave up the SIM card of the Tianxiong City Telecommunications Company and switched to the expensive global satellite SIM card. "Hello." The call went through quickly and Yang Lin's voice came through. "Dad, it's me," Yang Tian said excitedly. After a few months, he finally heard his father's voice again. "It's little Tian. How are you now?" Yang Tian could hear that the voice on the phone had changed. His father had probably turned on the speaker. He immediately replied, "Dad, Mom, don't worry. I'm very safe now. No one will be able to find me." This time, Yang Tian was even more talkative than his parents. He talked for half an hour before ending the call. Then, Yang Tian called Qin Fei's cell phone. Again, it went through quickly. "Little Fei, it's me." "Yang Tian, did you miss me during this time?" Yang Tian said with a smile when he heard Qin Fei's voice. "Ah." Qin Fei cried out in surprise. She said, "Yang Tian, you're back in Tianxiong City. Are you okay now?" Yang Tian laughed. "Not yet. I called the satellite phone. I'm going back. I think it'll take a while." "Hee hee. Let me tell you something. Your husband is now equivalent to a level 6 martial artist. I've already met Grandpa Qin's requirements. When I go back, you can wait to marry me. How are you now? Are you used to school?" Yang Tian had not spoken to Qin Fei for a long time. Naturally, he had a lot to say. Chapter 60. After ending the call with his girlfriend, Yang Tian was very happy. He started to organize the things he brought back and set up a tent in the cave. The ground of the tent was covered with dry leaves and covered with a soft, dry tarp. After doing all this, Yang Tian placed the screen on the mountain wall and turned on the player. The player projected a ray of light onto the screen. Because the light was very dim, the image displayed on the screen was even clearer. Xiao Fei had prepared a total of 6 sets of combat skills for Yang Tian, all of which were suitable for a rank 5 fighter to cultivate. The 3 sets of blade techniques were named Cloud Breaking Blade, Wave Splitting Blade, and Current Breaking Blade, all of which emphasize speed. The 3 sets of fist techniques were named Thunderclap Fist, Armor Breaking Fist, and Heavy Fist. These 3 sets of fist techniques were similar to the fist techniques Yang Tian used before. Of course, they were more powerful. After spending more than 10 hours, Yang Tian finally finished looking through the 6 sets of combat skills. These 6 sets of combat skills also had a set of breathing techniques, which was the method to strengthen and use internal force. Yang Tian had the power of the Dragon Orb, so he naturally didn't need this kind of internal force cultivation technique. He only looked at the moves of the blade technique and fist technique, as well as the technique to use force. After looking through them, Yang Tian wasn't very satisfied with these 6 sets of combat skills. Although he didn't consume any rank 6 beast cores, his strength and speed had reached the peak of a rank 6 fighter. If he were to cultivate to rank 5 fighter at this time, he felt that it would be useless. Also, Yang Tian had always wanted to create his own combat skills. After sparring with Zhao Shuangxing that day, this idea had been lingering in his mind, and he couldn't get rid of it. Only by creating one's own combat skills could he continuously improve them as his strength increased. In the future, he wouldn't have to spend time comprehending other people's combat skills. In other words, the combat skills created by oneself were the most suitable. Just like the fur of an exotic beast, it could change as the exotic beast continued to grow. Other people's combat skills, to a fighter, were like a child's clothes. When the child grew up, the clothes wouldn't change and would eventually have to be discarded. However, these 6 sets of combat skills were still very useful to Yang Tian. At the very least, they could be used as a reference. After looking at the combat skills, Yang Tian looked at the time. It was 7 o'clock in the evening, and the sky outside was already dark. It's time to roast meat. Yang Tian laughed loudly. Creak, creak. Hearing that Yang Tian was going to make barbecue, the little blue dragon in the dark cried out excitedly and ran over. With the replenishment, Yang Tian no longer had to worry about salt. On his way back, he casually killed a yellow-furred marten and a silver-furred pig. The meat of these 2 strange beasts was enough for a human and a dragon to eat for 4 to 5 days. The weather was cold, so they marinated the meat with salt and roasted it over fire. It could be stored for a long time. Yang Tian quickly roasted a pig leg, and the human and dragon ate happily under the light of the fire. After eating, Yang Tian went straight into the tent to lie down and rest, while the little blue dragon came out of the underground cave, probably to hunt other strange beasts. The little blue dragon also knew that Yang Tian was thinking and needed some time to cultivate in seclusion. It wanted to grow continuously, and naturally didn't need Yang Tian to specially find beast cores for it to eat. Yang Tian could clearly feel that ever since the little blue dragon swallowed the rank 7 beast core, it should have advanced by a realm. Its strength was much stronger than before, and it no longer needed his special care. The next morning at 6 o'clock, Yang Tian woke up on time. Although he hadn't had a good night's sleep in the past 3 months, it had become a habit, and he couldn't sleep even if he wanted to. Creak, creak. Seeing that Yang Tian woke up and came out of the tent, the little blue dragon, who was lying next to the fire, cried out excitedly. Eating roasted meat again. Aren't you afraid of getting tired of it? Yang Tian laughed. The sky outside was probably already bright, but in this underground cave, it was still as dark as night. If there wasn't a timer, one would probably forget whether it was day or night outside after staying inside for a long time. Moreover, it wasn't good for the eyes. After Yang Tian was done roasting the meat, he took his knife and came out of the underground cave. The weather outside wasn't very good, and it was snowing lightly, and many trees had accumulated some snowflakes. Yang Tian came out of the underground cave and squinted his eyes, and it took a long time for him to adapt to the light outside. After walking for some distance in the forest, Yang Tian found a flat place to stop. Hiss! Yang Tian suddenly pulled out his knife and began to practice his knife technique. He was practicing the lightning knife technique. After practicing a set of knife technique, Yang Tian didn't sweat at all, but his body became warm. Battle skill, self-created battle skill. After practicing the knife technique, Yang Tian stood and muttered to himself in the forest not far away. It wasn't that easy to create a set of battle skills. Most of the time, it was a flash of inspiration or perseverance. At this moment, a small snowflake fell on Yang Tian's face. It was cold, and Yang Tian unconsciously raised his hand and wiped his face. At this moment, more snowflakes fell. Yang Tian raised his knife, and the snowflakes fell on the knife, melting into water droplets and dripping down the smooth blade. When Yang Tian saw this, he shook his knife, and the blade hit the dripping water droplets, splashing them everywhere. In such a situation, ordinary people couldn't see the details clearly, But as a warrior, Yang Tian could see it clearly. Yang Tian gently waved his knife again and cut the falling snowflakes into pieces. At this moment, Yang Tian cried out in surprise. This situation reminded him of the first time he practiced his knife technique, when he let the little blue dragon throw leaves, and he cut the leaves. Interesting. Yang Tian's eyes suddenly lit up as he said. Immediately, his body moved, and he waved his knife, constantly cutting down the falling snowflakes from the sky. The snowflakes were actually small ice particles condensed together. When touched by the blade, they turned into countless ice particles. This was because when one wielded a saber, one's arm would tremble slightly. Within a very small area, the constant trembling would undoubtedly thicken the edge of the saber, causing the sharp edge of the saber to be unable to fully reflect its sharpness. The weaker the person, the more obvious this problem was when using a knife. After figuring this out, Yang Tian did not stop what he was doing and smiled. However, if he wanted to avoid this problem, he had to be steady. Even 30% of his strength would be able to achieve the same effect as when he used his full strength. Yang Tian finally understood why those martial artists had to stand still before the YS virus outbreak. There was only one word to describe it: steady. See. Yang Tian focused on waving his knife and started cutting the snowflakes. During this process, Yang Tian clearly saw every snowflake that came into contact with the blade. What Yang Tian didn't know was that during this process, not only did he train his knife technique, but he also trained his eyesight. When Yang Tian waved his knife, there was no pattern at all. When he saw a snowflake, he would slash it. During this process, he focused the power of the Dragon Ball on his arm. Every time he waved his knife, he could feel the flow of energy in his arm and the changes in his muscles. He also wondered how these changes would affect his knife technique. After practicing for an entire day, Yang Tian finally returned to the warm underground cave at 4:30 p.m. It was snowing lightly outside, and Yang Tian's entire body was soaked. After returning to the cave, Yang Tian sat by the fire and continued to think about the knife technique he had just learned. To ordinary people, combat skills were like secret martial arts. They were profound and incomprehensible. However, to warriors, combat skills were moves and training methods that allowed them to maximize their strength and speed. The distance between 2 points in a straight line was the shortest. The greater the force applied to an object, the easier it was to shatter. The faster the speed, the greater the cutting force. Even elementary school students understood these principles. Combat skills, on the other hand, were in accordance with these basic physical principles. Strictly speaking, Yang Tian had only learned a technique for using a knife. It was not a complete set of knife techniques. However, any knife technique would appear in this way and gradually be perfected. The next morning, Yang Tian did the same thing. After waking up, he roasted meat for the little blue dragon. Then, he went out to continue learning and practicing his knife technique. As long as he was engrossed in something, time would pass very quickly. In the blink of an eye, 10 days had passed. Yang Tian's knife technique was gradually maturing. Chapter 61. Where's Yang Tian? Why are you back? In the office of the Shinwei Martial Arts Club's master, Du Xiongwu looked at Zhu Hongyu and Zheng Dalong with a gloomy face and scolded them. Zhu Hongyu said lightly, "I'm not Yang Tian's opponent. It's good enough that I can come back with my life intact." Zheng Dalong, on the other hand, lowered his head and remained silent. Du Xiongwu was a level 8 martial artist. Once his aura was released, it was very terrifying. As soon as Zhu Hongyu finished speaking, Du Xiongwu pointed at her and asked with a frown, "Zhu Hongyu, don't forget that Feng is your nephew. Can you live with your conscience if you let Yang Tian go like this?" Zheng Dalong turned his head and glanced at Zhu Hongyu. Zhu Hongyu was Zhu Xiaoqing's sister, and Zhu Xiaoqing was Du Xiongwu's wife. Du Feng, who was killed by Yang Tian, was naturally Zhu Hongyu's nephew. Zhu Hongyu said, "As a martial artist, It's normal to kill and be killed. If Club Master really wants revenge, you should do it yourself. Me? Do it myself? Hey, I'm a level 8 martial artist. If I kill Yang Tian, who just turned 19, isn't that giving him too much face? Moreover, you don't know that Yang Tian is protected by Qin Zhengyang. If you send other martial artists, Qin Zhengyang won't interfere. But if I do it myself, Qin Zhengyang will definitely interfere. After Du Xiongwu finished speaking, he slammed his palm on his mahogany desk. With a bang, the sturdy mahogany desk fell apart. Zheng Dalong was so shocked that his body trembled. Zhu Hongyu, who was beside him, was still expressionless. Get out! Get out! Looking at the two of them, Du Xiongwu waved his hand and roared. Zhu Hongyu and Zheng Dalong immediately turned around and walked out. Watching the two of them leave, Du Xiongwu frowned. He did not expect that a level 6 martial artist could not do anything to Yang Tian. By then, some level 7 martial artists had already gone to look for Yang Tian. These level 7 martial artists were not after the mere 2 billion martial coins bounty. Instead, they were after the level 8 beast core in Yang Tian's possession. To Du Xiongwu, a grade 8 beast core was of course extremely attractive. His eldest son, Dewey, was not even 25 years old and was already a level 5 warrior. In less than 10 years, he would become a level 7 warrior. At that time, he would need a level 8 beast core. Although Shenwei Martial Arts Hall was not opened by Du Xiongwu hoped that his son would take over the martial arts hall in the future. Du Xiongwu was thinking about how to get the level 8 beast core from Yang Tian as soon as possible so that the level 7 martial artist would not beat him to it. At this time, his wife, Zhu Xiaoqing, walked into the office. "Why are you here?" Du Xiongwu asked with a frown when he saw his wife. Zhu Xiaoqing was not a martial artist, and Shenwei Martial Arts Hall did not belong to Du Xiongwu. If Zhu Xiaoqing came and went as she pleased, it would be bad for Du Xiongwu's reputation. Zhu Xiaoqing looked at her husband and said, "I heard that Hongyu is back, so I came to see her. Don't be too harsh on Hongyu. Don't forget that you are the one who caused her to be like this." When Du Xiongwu heard this, he recalled that when he was young, he had almost humiliated Zhu Hongyu when he was drunk. He could not help but feel embarrassed. At that time, Zhu Hongyu was still a lively girl with a martial artist talent. However, since that time, she had become cold and indifferent. She treated the Du family as if they were outsiders. "Don't say anymore. I didn't do anything to her. Don't worry, Yang Tian won't live to see next year." After Du Xiongwu finished speaking, a cold light flashed in his eyes. As the hall master of Shenwei Martial Arts Hall, although he could not cover the sky with one hand, after so many years as the hall master, he had accumulated a lot of wealth and connections. These things allowed him to cultivate many family experts. Du Xiongwu's younger brother, Du Xiongwen, was now a level 8 martial artist and had become one of the world's top experts. Du Xiongwu was the hall master of Shenwei Martial Arts Hall. There were always people watching, so naturally, it was not good for him to go personally. However, his younger brother, Du Xiongwen, did not have this problem. Zhu Xiaoqing came mainly to remind Du Xiongwu that he had a level 8 martial artist younger brother. Xiongwen has been in Hero City for more than half a year. I wonder if he has returned? I'll get him a call. After Du Xiongwu finished speaking, he picked up the satellite phone from the ground and dialed a number. After the call ended, Du Xiongwu laughed. Xiongwen agreed. When Zhu Xiaoqing heard this, she laughed. Du Xiongwu did not expect things to develop to this point. At the beginning, Yang Tian was still a level 2 martial artist. This could be found in the martial artist database. However, when Yang Tian killed his son, Du Feng, he displayed the strength of a level 3 martial artist. Later, when he was chased by Shenwei Martial Arts Hall's Zhou Dedeo, he actually became a level 4 martial artist. Then, Du Xiongwu sent his capable subordinate. Feng De was a level 5 martial artist, and his combat power was very strong. Among the martial artists of the same level, there were not many who could compare to him. However, Feng De was also defeated. This matter made Du Xiongwu realized that Yang Tian's strength was about to surpass a level 5 martial artist and become a level 6 martial artist. Therefore, Du Xiongwu sent out 3 level 6 martial artists in one breath. These things happened in a short 2 months. Until now, Yang Tian was still alive and well. Then, he suddenly disappeared. It was not that Du Xiongwu did not have the ability, but that Yang Tian improved too quickly. Du Xiongwu could not react in time. Du Xiongwu was not the only one who felt this way. The other martial artists also felt this way. After some martial artists entered the forest, they fantasized about killing Yang Tian and obtaining the bounty. However, they suddenly received news that Yang Tian had killed a few more martial artists and fought someone to a draw. This kind of news naturally made many martial artists retreat. They did not dare to find trouble with Yang Tian anymore. At this time, among the martial artists, some people were praising Yang Tian. Some of the professors in a martial arts hall would use Yang Tian as a role model when teaching. After the outbreak of the YS virus, transportation was difficult. However, it could not stop the transmission of radio information. Now, more than half of the martial artists in the world knew of Yang Tian's name. 3 days later, "Brother, I'm back." Du Xiongwu was sitting in the living room of his villa, watching the world news. At this time, the door to the living room was pushed open. A tall, thin, short-haired man wearing glasses walked in and said to Du Xiongwu, "Brother, you're back." When he saw the short-haired man wearing glasses, Du Xiongwu stood up happily and laughed. "Xiongwen, you're finally back." This short-haired man wearing glasses was Du Xiongwu's younger brother, Du Xiongwen. The parents of the two brothers had given them suitable names. Du Xiongwu was tall and had the appearance of a martial artist. He fit the word martial perfectly. On the other hand, Du Xiongwen gave people a gentle feeling, like a cultured person. However, compared to Du Xiongwen was more captivating. No one would have thought that Du Xiongwu, who looked weak and scholarly, was actually a level 8 martial artist, the pinnacle of martial artists in this world. Ever since the disappearance of level 9 martial artists, level 8 martial artists were considered the most powerful martial artists in this world. Du Xiongwen sat down across from Du Xiongwu. He picked up the glass of water on the coffee table and took a sip. Then, he adjusted his glasses and said, "I've known about foam for a long time. Brother, don't worry. I'll definitely bring Yang Tian back to you." Du Xiongwu smiled and nodded. The next morning, in the Du family's villa, Du Xiongwen, who was carrying a large backpack, stood in the courtyard and whistled loudly. Suddenly, a giant black eagle descended from the sky. This giant eagle was Du Xiongwen's pet beast. Whether it was its size or the aura it exuded, this giant black eagle couldn't compare to Qin Jingyang's pet beast, the scarlet-feathered eagle. It wouldn't be a problem for 3 people to sit on the scarlet-feathered eagle's back, but this black eagle could only carry 1 person. Looking at the black eagle, Du Xiongwu smiled and said, "It's been half a year and Little Black has actually become a level 4 exotic beast. Xiongwen, it'll be much more convenient for you to come and go now." Mutated eagles could only carry people for long periods of time after becoming level for exotic beasts. Du Xiongwen nodded and walked forward to stroke the black eagle's neck. Then, he jumped onto the black eagle's back and sat down cross-legged. The black eagle kicked its legs and flapped its wings. Soon it took to the sky and headed straight for the danger zone where Yang Tian was. "It'd be great if I had a pet beast like that. It could fly in the sky." At this moment, Du Xiongwu's daughter, Du Mei, said enviously with her eyes wide open as she looked at the black dot in the sky. Du Xiongwu smiled and said, "It's not easy to get a flying exotic beast like that. Your uncle almost lost his life for Little Black." Chapter 62. Half a day later, Du Xiongwen arrived at the Qingxi Valley on his black eagle. Until now, there were still dozens of warriors left in the valley. "Senior Du, you're here." Bai Kai, who was carrying a broadsword, greeted Du Xiongwen when he saw him arrive. Du Xiongwen jumped down from the black eagle's back and threw his backpack to the two warriors beside Bai Kai. Du Xiongwen shook off the snow on his body, took off his glasses, and asked faintly, "How's the situation?" Bai Kai shook his head. "That kid seems to have disappeared during this period of time. I can't find any trace of him." Du Xiongwen said, "I can feel that he's still here." Bai Kai nodded and said, "Senior, you must be tired from the journey. Please rest inside. The room has already been prepared for you." Screech! Suddenly, an eagle's cry sounded in the sky, and a huge red figure landed. Of course, it was the little condor that followed Steward Wu here. As soon as the little condor landed, Steward Wu jumped down from the black eagle's back. When Du Xiongwen's black eagle saw the little condor, it was so scared that it shrunk its neck. In the consciousness of exotic beasts, there was a strict concept of hierarchy. Among exotic beasts of the same species, low-level exotic beasts would be afraid of high-level exotic beasts. "Little Black, don't be afraid." Du Xiongwen patted the black eagle's back and said with a smile, "Senior Du is here. You're a rare guest." As Qin Jingyang's steward, Wu Fang was naturally knowledgeable. He had known Du Xiongwen for a long time. When he saw Du Xiongwen, he was not surprised. Instead, he greeted Du Xiongwen naturally. Du Xiongwen smiled and said, "So it's Steward Wu. It's cold now. Why don't we go inside and have some wine to warm up?" Wu Fang waved his hand. "I won't disturb, Senior. I still have things to do." "Okay then." Du Xiongwen nodded and smiled. After Du Xiongwen finished speaking, he was led by Bai Kai into the villa by the big pool. Bai Kai had been here for a long time. With his strength, he naturally occupied a few of the better rooms in the villa. Steward Wu looked at Du Xiongwen's back and smiled. He patted Little Condor's back and walked into a small building next to the villa. However, the little condor flapped its wings and flew into the sky. Soon, it disappeared into the sky. Du Xiongwen arrived at the room that Bai Kai had arranged for him. He immediately took out a satellite phone from his backpack and dialed a number. The phone rang a few times before it was picked up. "Hey, Carl, I need your help." "Yes. The serial number is *************. After the call was connected, Du Xiongwen spoke fluent English to the other party and said a string of numbers. This string of numbers was the serial number of the martial artist auxiliary device in Yang Tian's hands. Others might not know, but Du Xiongwen knew that in every martial artist auxiliary device's operating system, there was a built-in program. Once it was activated, the martial artist auxiliary device could be operated remotely. This was a secret that very few people knew about. Du Xiongwen had stayed in Europe for a long time. He had a wide circle of friends and knew many European martial artists and some information technology personnel. Among them was Carl, the executive of the martial artist auxiliary device manufacturer. After Du Xiongwen told him the serial number, Carl said awkwardly, "Du, this is a serious violation of the company's regulations. If this gets out, who among you martial artists would dare to buy our company's products in the future? 1 billion martial coins and a permanent residence permit in any other safe zone." After Carl finished speaking, Du Xiongwen smiled and said. The other party was silent for a long time. Then he said, "Okay, but I want the money now." "No problem." Du Xiongwen smiled and said, "Send me your account number." After Du Xiongwen finished speaking, he hung up the phone. Bai Kai, who was beside him, naturally understood what was going on. He smiled and said, "As long as we can find Yang Tian's location, Senior, you will personally take action. No matter how powerful Yang Tian is, he won't be able to escape this time." However, Du Xiongwen said, "There's no other way. Yang Tian can make me personally take action and use my connections. This young man is very impressive." After Du Xiongwen finished speaking, his martial artist auxiliary device received a message. He opened it and saw that it was a bank account. Du Xiongwen immediately transferred 1 billion martial coins to this account through the auxiliary device. After a while, Du Xiongwen received a set of coordinates. "This place is less than 30 kilometers away from us." After Bai Kai saw the coordinates, he entered it into his auxiliary device. Soon, Yang Tian's location was displayed. Bai Kai was surprised when he saw it. Du Xiongwen smiled and said, "Actually, it's not that close. In this forest, if you rush, it will take you more than an hour to get there." Bai Kai nodded. The two of them talked as they walked outside. They had to get to the coordinates as soon as possible. If Yang Tian found out that his martial artist auxiliary device had turned on automatically, it was very likely that he would escape again. The snowflakes falling from the sky were getting bigger and bigger, and the visibility was getting lower and lower. See, on a small hill, Yang Tian did not care about the snow that was getting heavier. At that moment, he was focused on his saber technique. He kept swinging his saber and slashing at the falling snowflakes. After a period of practice, Yang Tian became more and more proficient in this saber technique. Previously, when he swung his saber, the blade would break the snowflakes into pieces. After all, the snowflake structure was very loose. Even a weak airflow could deform them. But now, when Yang Tian swung his saber, the snowflakes would be cut in half. The shape of the two snowflakes would not change much. In order to practice this saber technique, Yang Tian had to swing his saber more than 10,000 times a day. Even if he used the power of the Dragon Ball, his arms would still be sore after a day. Because this technique of exerting force required a very precise amount of muscle strength. Before he became a martial artist, Yang Tian had a strong perseverance. He woke up early every day for several years and exercised his body. Now, his perseverance supported him to continue with the boring practice. It was this perseverance that allowed Yang Tian to persevere no matter what difficulties he encountered. When the practice time was up, Yang Tian stopped and took a deep breath. White air spurted out of his mouth and nose, disturbing a large piece of snowflakes. After squatting down to rest for a while, Yang Tian stood up, walked to a thick tree stump, and swung his saber. The saber passed through the tree, making a slight friction sound. Although the saber split the tree trunk, the upper half of the tree trunk, which was more than a foot long, did not fall down. Yang Tian reached out and took it away. Looking at the cut, he smiled happily. This cut could be described as smooth as a mirror. Moreover, Yang Tian did not use much strength. When he swung his saber, the resistance of the tree trunk was very small. Yang Tian knew that he was becoming more and more proficient in using the saber. As long as he kept practicing, cutting other people's weapons would be like cutting tofu. After putting away his saber, Yang Tian was ready to go back. The place where he was now was about 1 kilometer away from the entrance of the underground cave. Standing on this inconspicuous hillside, he could see the situation ahead. Yang Tian was about to go back when suddenly, a huge black eagle descended from the sky. Although the snow was heavy, Yang Tian still saw it. After the big black eagle landed, a person jumped down from it. Yang Tian frowned and slowly walked forward. After walking for about 500 meters, he hid behind a rock and watched the person who jumped down from the back of the black eagle. That person was looking around. Soon, he pushed aside the vines and walked in. He was discovered. Yang Tian was shocked. He had never told anyone about the entrance. Then, martial artist auxiliary device. Yang Tian suddenly understood. Thinking of this, Yang Tian gritted his teeth. He thought to himself that since he had a satellite phone, he should have thrown away the martial artist auxiliary device long ago. This period of time had been too smooth. He had forgotten himself. In fact, he had long known that the martial artist auxiliary device, a high-tech device controlled by programs, was not safe. Since the place where he lived had been exposed, it was best to leave quickly. However, Yang Tian was worried about the little blue dragon. The little blue dragon liked to go out at night. During the day, it slept under Yang Tian's pillow. Yang Tian thought about it. He was worried about the little blue dragon and immediately rushed over. Chapter 63. Eagles had excellent eyesight. The big black eagle soon discovered Yang Tian and let out a sharp cry. Soon, the man who had entered the cave rushed out. Yang Tian was less than 400 meters away from the entrance. As soon as the man came out, Yang Tian saw him looking in his direction and running towards him. The man was Du Xiongwen, a level 8 warrior. He's so fast. Yang Tian was surprised to see Du Xiongwen's speed. From the other party's speed, Yang Tian could tell that the other party's strength had far surpassed a rank 6 martialist. Yang Tian's mind raced for a moment before he turned around and ran into the woods behind him. At this time, Du Xiongwen's big black eagle flew into the sky and quickly caught up with Yang Tian. This eagle was very smart. It only hovered where Yang Tian was and pointed the way for Du Xiongwen. The big black eagle was a symbol. At this time, Bai Kai and dozens of other warriors surrounded the big black eagle. Yang Tian's speed was only slightly faster than a level 6 warrior. If he encountered a level 8 warrior, he would not even have a chance to escape. Du Xiongwen's speed was very fast. It was as if he was flying close to the ground. Soon, he was only 10 meters away from Yang Tian. He jumped lightly, kicked off a big tree, and landed on another big tree. He jumped again, somersaulted in the air, and landed steadily in front of Yang Tian, blocking his way. Yang Tian knew that he could not outrun the man in front of him, so he stopped. Du Xiongwen looked at Yang Tian's young face and laughed. "You must be Yang Tian. You're even younger than my dead nephew. At such a young age, you've already reached level 6. If you're given a few more years, you might become the world's youngest level 9 martial artist. I really can't bear to kill a genius like you." "Who are you?" Yang Tian looked at Du Xiongwen and asked with a frown. At this time, Yang Tian was also nervous. This was the first time he had encountered a martial artist who made him feel immense pressure. The other party was most likely a level 8 martial artist. Du Xiongwen smiled. "You should be able to guess. Du Feng is your nephew. Du Xiongwen, LV8 martial artist of Shunwei Martial Arts Hall." Yang Tian thought and immediately guessed. Du Xiongwen nodded. Yang Tian clenched the saber in his hand and gritted his teeth. "You're a level 8 warrior. Don't you feel embarrassed killing a level 6 warrior like me?" Du Xiongwen pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose and said, "I'm indeed embarrassed. That's why I waited for a long time before I came. If you hand over the level 8 beast core in your hand, I can take your body back and let your parents see you for the last time." Yang Tian shook his head and looked at Du Xiongwen's eyes. "I don't have any level 8 beast core in my hand. I believe you. In that case, I'll kill you and take your body back." Du Xiongwen unexpectedly believed Yang Tian's words and said lightly. A liar could be seen from his eyes. Du Xiongwen naturally saw that Yang Tian was not lying. Du Xiongwen finished speaking and immediately said, "I'm going to make a move. Are you ready?" Yang Tian had nowhere else to run and could only nod his head. "Pooh!" Suddenly, Du Xiongwen stepped on the ground and his figure flashed. In the blink of an eye, he crossed a distance of more than 10 meters and arrived in front of Yang Tian. In the blink of an eye was not an adjective, but a real blink of an eye. With such a fast speed, Yang Tian had no time to react. He could only gather the power of the dragon pearl in his body. Pong! Du Xiongwen punched Yang Tian in the chest and sent Yang Tian flying. The power of this punch was too strong. Yang Tian felt that the opponent's fist was like a high-speed train. Yang Tian crashed into a big tree as thick as a person's waist. The tree trembled and a large amount of snow fell. At this time, the air in front of him surged and blew away a large amount of snow. Du Xiongwen's figure appeared. This happened almost instantaneously. Yang Tian was moved. With his back against the big tree, he waved his sword and slashed at a snowflake disturbed by the air. Hiss! There was a soft sound. Du Xiongwen faced this slash and retreated quickly. Almost in a flash, he was 5 or 6 meters away from Yang Tian. Pooh! Du Xiongwen's punch caused Yang Tian to suffer a serious internal injury. At this time, he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. Du Xiongwen looked at Yang Tian in surprise. When Yang Tian wiped the blood from his mouth and raised his head, he asked, "What combat skill did you use just now?" Yang Tian smiled, revealing his white teeth stained with blood. He smiled and said, "I created it myself, Snow Slashing Blade. Good blade technique." Du Xiongwen praised, "You, a level 6 martial artist, actually forced me to retreat with this slash. Very impressive. Yang Tian leaned on his sword and laughed, covering his chest. I'm very honored. Your blade technique is not fully developed yet. You made me feel even more reluctant to kill you, Du Xiongwen said with a frown. Then don't kill him. Suddenly, the voice of an elder came from the sky. Bang! Then, a person descended from the sky. Grandpa Qin. Seeing this elder, Yang Tian called out joyfully. The old man was none other than Qin Zhengyang. Seeing Qin Lao appear, Du Xiongwen smiled and said, Qin Lao is here. Looks like it's impossible to kill Yang Tian today. Qin Lao stroked his white beard and said calmly, You know you can't kill Yang Tian, so leave quickly. This old man also doesn't want to fight with a junior like you. However, Du Xiongwen said, I've long wanted to know what realm you are as a martial artist, Qin Lao. This time is just the right opportunity. Please enlighten me, Qin Lao. After Du Xiongwen finished speaking, he reached behind his back and pulled out 2 white daggers that were more than a foot long. When Du Xiongwen attacked Yang Tian just now, he did not use his weapon. Facing Qin Lao now, he actually took out his weapon. It was clear that he regarded Qin Lao as an opponent of at least the same level. In Qin Lao's martial artist realm had always been regarded as level 7. Level 7 and level 8 martial artists were only 1 level apart, but the difference in strength was like heaven and earth. Qin Lao, excuse me. After taking out his weapon, Du Xiongwen said with a smile. As soon as he finished speaking, he moved and rushed toward Qin Zhengyang at a speed faster than when he attacked Yang Tian just now. At this moment, Qin Zhengyang did not move at all. He only raised his hand. Yang Tian, who was at the side, suddenly felt as though the air had frozen. The surroundings suddenly became silent. Bang! Yang Tian's illusion only lasted for a very short time. Then, he heard a crashing sound. This time, the one who flew out was Du Xiongwen. However, Du Xiongwen's flying was even more spectacular than Yang Tian's. His body only stopped after breaking a big tree that was as thick as a person's waist. He also spat out a mouthful of blood. In just one exchange, level 8 martial artist Du Xiongwen was injured. Qin Lao, you are a level 9 martial artist, Du Xiongwen said with a bitter smile as he struggled to get up from the ground. At this moment, the dual sabers in his hands had flown off to who knows where. Qin Zhengyang dug his ears with a distressed expression. He said to Du Xiongwen, It's good that you and Yang Tian know about this. Don't tell anyone else. In the future, you don't have to care about the Du family. Leave Tianxiong City and don't come back. Okay. Du Xiongwen nodded without hesitation and whistled. A large black eagle suddenly descended. Du Xiongwen spent a lot of effort to climb onto the back of the black eagle. Then, the black eagle flapped its wings and flew away with Du Xiongwen. Huff! At this moment, Qin Zhengyang let out a long breath. The aura on his body weakened as he exhaled. Grandpa Qin, thank goodness you came. If you were a few minutes later, I would have been dead. Yang Tian swallowed a mouthful of blood and smiled bitterly. Qin Zhengyang walked in front of Yang Tian and helped Yang Tian up. He smiled and said, Xiao Fei didn't misjudge you. You're not bad. Now, do you want to go back with me or continue to stay here? Yang Tian was naturally worried that the little blue dragon hadn't arrived yet. He said without hesitation, If it's possible, I want to stay here for a while. Qin Zhengyang didn't say anything. He looked at Yang Tian's injuries, took out a level 5 beast core from his pocket, and put it in Yang Tian's mouth. Chapter 64. Punk. A 2-meter-long giant sword fiercely chopped down on a boulder, splitting it into 2 halves. The snowflakes covering the boulder splashed in all directions. A white foal nearby was so shocked that it turned around and fled. A huge Pegasus descended from the sky, flapping its wings as it charged toward the brown-haired man wielding the greatsword. Not only did this Pegasus have 2 huge wings that allowed it to fly, but it also had a sharp horn on its head. According to Western legends, this was a magical creature known as a unicorn. The brown-haired man was tall and handsome. He had an aristocratic aura about him. He was the level 6 warrior who came here from Hero City to challenge Yang Tian to a duel. His name was Mark. After Mark arrived at this seemingly endless forest, he unintentionally came across a white pony. Maka wouldn't have spared a glance at an ordinary mutated horse, but he immediately recognized it as a unicorn's cub. If he could bring it back and tame it, he'd have a unicorn as his pet beast. Mark chased after this little unicorn that had just grown an inconspicuous horn and had yet to grow wings. Later on, this little unicorn's mother beast appeared and forced Mark to retreat. The little unicorn took the opportunity to escape. After discovering this little unicorn, Mark threw the matter of his duel with Yang Tian to the back of his mind and continued to search for unicorns. Now, under the heavy snow, he finally saw the little unicorn snuggling with its mother as they stood on a hillside. The sky was white. If not for his good luck, he would not have been able to discover these two exotic beasts. Perhaps many legendary creatures had existed in this world before and were not made up by the ancients. For example, the dragon from the east and the unicorn from the west. It was only due to changes in the environment that they disappeared from this world. However, under the effects of the YS virus, the divine beast bloodline hidden in some animals was activated, and some legendary creatures reappeared in this world. The winged serpent that Yang Tian encountered and a unicorn that Mark was facing were the same. It was almost impossible to tame an adult exotic beast into a pet beast. The chances of that happening were extremely low. However, it was possible to tame an infant exotic beast. It was best to capture the exotic beast as soon as it was born. That way, the chances of raising it into a pet beast would be the highest. Unicorns and horses were similar animals. Mark felt that taming a little unicorn should not be a difficult task. It was just like taming a little unicorn. Looking at the mother unicorn pouncing at him, Mark raised his great sword and slashed at it again. This time, facing Mark's giant sword, the unicorn mother beast didn't dodge. Instead, it used the horn on its head to collide with the giant sword. PFFF. Maka's great sword hadn't even come into contact with the horn of the mother unicorn when it was bounced back by a powerful, invisible force. During this process, Maka felt his entire body go numb, as if he had been electrocuted. Maka laughed out loud and raised his sword to fight the mother unicorn again. Meanwhile, the little unicorn looked at its mother worriedly. After deflecting Mark's great sword again, the mother unicorn hissed at its cub. When the little unicorn heard it, it immediately turned around and ran. Seeing that the little unicorn was about to disappear from his sight again, Mark turned around and chased after the little unicorn. The lesson from last time made Mark realize that the mother unicorn only wanted to delay him. Once its cub escaped far away, it would immediately fly away. This time, Mark would not allow the little unicorn to disappear from his sight. The little unicorn was not fast. Mark quickly caught up to it. However, the mother unicorn also caught up to it. After consuming a level 5 beast core, Yang Tian recuperated for more than half an hour. With the energy from the beast core and the power from the Dragon Ball, Yang Tian's internal injuries were quickly healed. At least, he could now move normally without any problems. Qin Jingyang was surprised that Yang Tian was able to move freely so quickly. He looked at Yang Tian and asked again, "Have you made up your mind? Do you want to return to Tianxiong City with me, or continue to stay in this forest?" Yang Tian had already made up his mind in the past half an hour. He smiled and said, "Grandpa Qin, I think I should continue to train for a while." There was no surprise on Qin Jingyang's face. He stroked his beard and nodded. "You can't fight with other martial artists for at least 3 days. I'll guard you for a few days then." With Qin Jingyang by his side, Yang Tian could focus on recuperating. Yang Tian nodded happily. Rustle, rustle, rustle. At this time, there were sounds of footsteps around them. Not long after, Bai Kai led a group of people and many other warriors and appeared in the surroundings. However, when these people saw Qin Jingyang and Yang Tian, there were traces of battle around them, and Du Xiongwen was not here. They understood what had happened. They did not dare to say anything and immediately turned to leave. Qin Jingyang had always said that he was a level 7 warrior, but many people did not believe him. Now, Du Xiongwen, a level 8 warrior, was not here. This could only mean one thing. Du Xiongwen had been defeated and left this place. To be able to defeat a level 8 warrior in such a short time, Qin Jingyang's realm was obvious. Yang Tian and Qin Jingyang returned to the underground cave where they were temporarily staying. It was freezing outside, but the temperature in the underground cave was maintained at around 10 degrees. It was very warm. In just a few minutes, Yang Tian and Qin Jingyang felt as if spring had suddenly come from winter. The only bad thing was that the underground cave was too dark. Previously, when Du Xiongwen had just entered here, he had heard the big black eagles cry and immediately turned back. Naturally, he had not touched Yang Tian's things. In the cave, the fire was about to go out. Yang Tian immediately added firewood to the fire and called Qin Jingyang over. The two of them sat down beside the fire. Yang Tian began to roast meat again. The old man and the young man sat in front of the fire and ate the meat. "Grandpa Qin, why did you hide your realm?" Yang Tian suddenly asked curiously. In the previous battle, Yang Tian had seen the entire process clearly, and this question had been lingering in his mind for a long time. Qin Jingyang smiled and said, "You'll naturally understand when you reach level 9. It's useless to tell you now. Instead, it'll only add to your troubles." Qin Jingyang did not want to explain, so Yang Tian did not ask further. He smiled and said, "Grandpa Qin, I should be qualified to be with Xiao Fei now, right?" This was the question that Yang Tian was most concerned about. As soon as he asked this question, he looked at Qin Jingyang expectantly, as if he was afraid that Qin Jingyang would reject him. Qin Jingyang laughed and nodded. "You have already met my requirements. I will naturally not object to the two of you." Hearing Qin Jingyang's answer, Yang Tian finally heaved a sigh of relief. He scratched his head and chuckled. Chapter 65. Hiss, hiss. In the heavy snow, Yang Tian swung the saber in his hand and slashed at Qin Jingyang at lightning speed. Each slash was faster than the last. Qin Jingyang placed his hands behind his back and dodged Yang Tian's saber every time he moved. To Yang Tian, Qin Jingyang, who was wearing a black Chinese tunic suit, was like a floating shadow. After a long time, huff, Yang Tian let out a long breath and stopped. After more than an hour of swinging his saber, Yang Tian was still panting even though he had used the power of the Dragon Ball. The snowflakes that fell on him were evaporated by his body temperature and turned into white steam. Yang Tian looked like he was about to combust. On the other hand, Qin Jingyang was still calm even after doing a lot of exercise. His face was not red and he was not out of breath. This was the difference between their realms. Yang Tian gave it his all and used his fastest speed. The saber in his hand did not even touch Qin Jingyang's clothes. "Not bad. Your saber technique is very stable and your cutting ability is very strong. However, on top of the stable foundation, you have to speed up. Also, the saber in your hand has to be heavier. As for the moves, I can't give you any advice. You have to figure it out yourself." After stopping, Qin Jingyang smiled and gave Yang Tian pointers. "Thank you, Grandpa Qin. Let's do it again." Yang Tian chuckled as he caught his breath. "All right." Qin Jingyang laughed. In the snow, the two flashed again, and their speed was getting faster and faster. This was already the 5th day. In 3 days, Yang Tian's internal injuries had already healed. The speed of his recovery surprised Qin Jingyang. At Yang Tian's request, Qin Jingyang agreed to stay for 2 more days to teach Yang Tian a new saber technique. Snow Slash. Yang Tian's self-created combat technique could not be used in a battle with a master. However, only in a real battle could the power of a combat technique be tested. With the help of an expert like Qin Jingyang, Yang Tian's understanding of the combat skills he created became deeper and deeper. After an entire day, Yang Tian finally stopped when the sky was about to turn dark. At this time, even Qin Jingyang's body was steaming. After a day of nonstop activity, Qin Jingyang's breathing was more rapid than usual even though he was a level 9 warrior. Previously, Qin Jingyang was surprised by Yang Tian's recovery ability. Now, he was even more surprised by Yang Tian's endurance. For the entire day, the two of them did not eat or drink. A normal level 6 warrior would not be able to withstand such a long period of intense activity. However, Yang Tian still had energy left. It would not be a problem for him to persist for another 7 to 8 hours. This kind of endurance could only be described with the word terrifying. Yang Tian must have had a fortuitous encounter. That was why he had such an extraordinary physique. The thought popped up in Qin Jingyang's mind. However, he did not ask because he knew that this was Yang Tian's secret. It was a secret that belonged to a warrior. It's getting dark. This old man has to leave. Come back early. Your parents have been nagging at this old man every day. Qin Jingyang said with a smile as he looked at Yang Tian, who was heaving his shoulders and panting nonstop. Yang Tian nodded heavily. Qin Jingyang smiled and whistled. A moment later, the little eagle descended from the sky and landed in front of Qin Jingyang. Qin Jingyang stood on the little eagle's back and said to Yang Tian, "After this old man returns, I will announce to the outside world that the level 8 beast core in your hands is now in my hands. Those level 7 warriors, other than the people from Shunwei Martial Arts Hall, should not cause trouble for you anymore. After this old man leaves, be careful of Bai Kai. If you can kill him, do your best to kill him." After Qin Jingyang finished speaking, he sat down cross-legged and patted the little eagle's back. The little eagle bounced its legs, flapped its wings, and flew into the sky. Soon, it disappeared into the snow. After Qin Jingyang left, Yang Tian was still standing in the snow. He was thinking about what Qin Jingyang said before he left. "Kill Bai Kai, squeak, squeak, squeak." Not long after, the little blue dragon's cry rang out. Yang Tian turned around happily and saw the little blue dragon sticking close to the snow. Its body was like a ray of green light as it arrived in front of him at lightning speed. Yang Tian and the little blue dragon could sense each other's existence even if they were separated by a long distance. These few days, Qin Jingyang, a level 9 warrior, was in one emperor city. The little blue dragon naturally stayed far away, afraid that Qin Jingyang would discover it. No matter who it was, if it was not necessary, the little blue dragon would not appear in front of these people now. Squeak, squeak, squeak. The little blue dragon jumped onto Yang Tian's shoulder and cried out happily. Yang Tian smiled and said, "Okay, tonight, we'll make up for all the roasted meat you've eaten these few days. It's getting dark, let's go back." After returning to the underground cave, Yang Tian first called his parents to ask about them. He naturally would not tell his parents what had happened these few days, especially the level 8 warrior, Du Xiongwen, who had come to kill him. This would make his parents worried. However, Yang Tian did not care about Xiaofei. "How have you been getting along with Grandpa these few days?" Qin Fei asked with a smile on the other end of the phone after the call. "Grandpa Qin is very kind and easy to get along with. These few days even taught me how to use the newly created snow cleaving blade. Xiaofei, do you know why I didn't go back to Tianxiong City? I want to become a level 7 warrior before I go back." Grandpa Qin told me that when I become a level 7 warrior, we can get married. After Yang Tian finished speaking, he laughed mischievously. The image of Qin Fei in a wedding dress appeared in his mind. "You wish. I won't marry you," Qin Fei said coquettishly. Yang Tian laughed mischievously and said, "If you don't marry me, who will you marry?" After chatting with Qin Fei for a while, a question suddenly popped up in Yang Tian's mind. This question had appeared a long time ago, so he asked, "Xiaofei, Grandpa Qin is a level 9 martial artist, and your parents are also advanced martial artists. Why didn't you strengthen and become a martial artist?" Yang Tian knew that this was definitely not, because Qin Fei's grandfather and her parents were worried that she would be in danger if she fought with mutated beasts and other warriors. Even if she did not become a warrior, she could at least strengthen her body, right? This was also good for her body. Qin Fei was silent for a while before saying, "Actually, I've swallowed a lot of beast nuclei from level 1 to level 8. However, my body did not react at all. I'm destined to not become an enhancer. Yang Tian, when we get married in the future, I won't spend as much time with you as other wives. This will you mind? Unable to be strengthened, Yang Tian was very surprised. After Qin Fei finished speaking, Yang Tian did not react for a while. Yang Tian, you still mind? Seeing that Yang Tian did not speak for a while, Qin Fei was very sad. It could be heard from her voice. Yang Tian came back to his senses and hurriedly said, Xiao Fei, don't misunderstand. I didn't mean that. I'm just very surprised. Don't worry, I will only marry you in this life. I will definitely make you my wife. Yang Tian comforted her for a long time and said some witty words. Only then did Qin Fei stop crying and laugh. She became happy again. Now, Yang Tian understood why Qin Fei was not strengthened despite being born in a warrior family. What made Yang Tian surprised was that Qin Fei had actually swallowed a level 8 beast nucleus. This made Yang Tian feel that Qin Fei's physique was definitely different from ordinary people. Chapter 66. The next morning, Yang Tian turned on his martial artist auxiliary device. Yang Tian wasn't afraid of other martial artists. As long as they weren't above level 8, he had the confidence to deal with them. After Yang Tian turned on the martial artist auxiliary device, he looked at the news about Tianxiong City. The news on the martial artist auxiliary device was naturally related to martial artists. Among the news, Yang Tian found a piece of news about himself and Qin Jingyang. According to the description, Qin Jingyang had obtained a level 8 beast core from Yang Tian. Many level 7 martial artists had approached him to purchase it. From this piece of news, Yang Tian could tell that the reason he hadn't met any level 7 martial artists was probably related to Grandpa Qin. The circle of martial artists was actually very small. These level 7 martial artists naturally knew some information that other martial artists didn't. They didn't come looking for Yang Tian because Yang Tian was Qin Jingyang's prospective grandson-in-law in Du Xiongwu's office. Unlike the previous times, Du Xiongwu didn't fly into a rage when he learned that Qin Jingyang was a level 9 martial artist and that Qin Jingyang had stopped him from killing Yang Tian. At this moment, Du Xiongwu was very quiet. There was no expression on his face. After a long time, Du Xiongwu picked up the phone on the table and dialed a number. Hello, it's me. I need you and old Qi to take action. Don't worry. After this is done, I can agree to the thing you mentioned before. After a few minutes, the other party hung up the phone. Du Xiongwu slammed the phone on the table. After Du Xiongwu retracted his hand, the exquisitely made phone had turned into a pile of parts. The two people Du Xiongwu found were both level 7 martial artists. When martial artists reached level 7 and above, they naturally had a certain status. Even in the Xinwei Martial Arts Hall, Du Xiongwu couldn't casually order them to do what he wanted. Du Xiongwu wanted to kill Yang Tian to avenge his dead son. This was something that everyone knew. After Yang Tian killed Du Xiongwu's son, most martial artists who knew about this thought that Yang Tian was doomed. No one had expected that things would develop to this point. Every time Du Xiongwu sent people out, they either died or returned empty-handed. It was like slapping Du Xiongwu's face. This was a personal grudge between martial artists. Naturally, Du Xiongwu couldn't use all the power of the martial art hall's full power. Sending a martial artist's arrest warrant to Yang Tian was already the most he could do. Now that he wanted the help of 2 level 7 martial artists, he naturally had to pay a price. It was already the middle of January, 2116. It was the coldest time of the year. Ever since Qin Jingyang left, Yang Tian had been practicing his saber technique. Qin Jingyang had already affirmed his snow-cleaving saber technique. Ever since Qin Jingyang left, Yang Tian had been practicing nonstop. He was becoming more and more proficient in the snow-cleaving saber technique. The sky was dark, and it was snowing heavily. In order to prevent his clothes from getting wet, Yang Tian practiced his saber technique half-naked in the heavy snow. Within the curtain of snow, Yang Tian's figure was flying around. His eyes were sharp, and every snowflake that came into his sight was instantly cut into two by him. The snowflakes falling from the sky seemed endless. Yang Tian's saber technique was like flowing water, flowing endlessly. During this time, other than looking for food, he had been practicing his saber technique from morning to night. Yang Tian's position was completely exposed to the eyes of the warriors. Every day, there would be warriors looking at Yang Tian from afar. However, no one dared to come up and challenge Yang Tian. The strong would always make the weak fearful. It was not only between the exotic beasts. It was the same even between the warriors. In just half a year, Yang Tian had grown to the point where even a rank 6 warrior would not be able to move forward when facing him. The heavy snow had sealed off the mountain. It was difficult to move forward in the forest. Most of the warriors that stayed here were advanced warriors above rank 5 or 6. Standing from afar, they naturally could not feel the power of Yang Tian's snow-cleaving saber. However, they were surprised by Yang Tian's endurance. He had been practicing for an entire day without eating or drinking. Among the warriors here, no one could do that except for Yang Tian. Whoosh! At this time, a strong wind came from the sky. Yang Tian stopped practicing. When he looked up, his eyes immediately widened. From the sky, a white Pegasus descended. This Pegasus had eagle-like wings. Each wing was 3 meters long. There was also a white, jade-like horn on its forehead. On the back of the Pegasus sat a brown-haired man. The Pegasus landed 10 meters in front of Yang Tian. The brown-haired man jumped off the Pegasus and gently placed the pony in his arms on the ground. Whoosh! At this time, the white Pegasus looked up and looked around. It used its front hooves to dig at the snow uneasily. 2 white streams of air came out of its nostrils. The brown-haired man patted the white Pegasus' neck and said a few words in English to it. Yang Tian had learned English. He knew that the brown-haired man was comforting the white Pegasus. Naturally, Yang Tian knew the reason why the Pegasus was feeling uneasy. This was because the little blue dragon was nearby. The little blue dragon guarded Yang Tian during the day and went out to hunt other exotic beasts at night. After consuming their beast cores, its strength increased rapidly. Now, the little blue dragon's body was emitting an aura. Even a level 6 exotic beast would feel uneasy if they sensed the little blue dragon's aura. After the Pegasus calmed down, the brown-haired man took a few steps towards Yang Tian and stopped about 5 meters away from Yang Tian. "You're Mark, right?" Yang Tian said with a smile in his not-so-fluent English. When Qin Fei was talking to Yang Tian on the phone, she had mentioned Mark. Yang Tian naturally knew what Mark looked like. He recognized him the moment he saw him. Mark nodded and said in not-so-fluent Chinese, "Yang Tian, I want to duel you. I've been looking for you for many days. I've been delayed because of my unicorn mount. If you lose, you have to give Qin Fei to me." Yang Tian said with a smile, "If you want to duel me with this reason, I won't keep you company. I love Qin Fei and won't treat her as a wager. We Easterners are different from you Westerners in many aspects when it comes to handling matters." After Yang Tian finished speaking, Mark was silent for a moment. He nodded and said to Yang Tian again, then, "I want to spar with you to see who's better." Yang Tian nodded. Mark had a handsome face and a strong body. He carried a huge sword on his back. After Yang Tian finished speaking, Mark put down his backpack and untied the sword on his back. He pulled out the meter-long sword from its scabbard. Mark's sudden appearance was naturally noticed by the surrounding martialists. While Yang Tian and Ma Ke were talking, more than 10 high-rank martialists appeared around them. This was the first time these people were so close to Yang Tian. They were less than 100 meters away. Yang Tian scanned his surroundings. In the end, his gaze fell on the white Pegasus. Beside this Pegasus stood a pony. However, the pony didn't have wings and looked very cute. This mystical and beautiful mutated beast made Yang Tian feel very surprised. He thought that if he could give such a beautiful mutated beast that could fly to Qin Fei as a mount, Qin Fei would definitely be very happy. Seeing Yang Tian looking at his mount, Mark said proudly, "This is my unicorn mount, Nasha. It's the most precious gift the heavens gave me after I came to the Eastern world. Yang Tian nodded and said to Mark, "Can you give his pony to me?" Mark smiled and raised the huge sword in his hand. He pointed at Yang Tian and said, "We'll talk about it after you defeat me." Yang Tian looked at Mark's spirited blue eyes and nodded. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.